What is up, everyone? Welcome back to some more Higurashi. In the previous recording session, we had our fun little baseball game, followed up by a nice little barbecue on the shrine grounds. But things started to get a little weird after Keiichi started talking about Satoshi. Right? He started asking various people about Satoshi. He asked Shion about Satoshi, and Shion gets a little weird with it, which, we haven't really seen Shion get weird with it, but she kind of locked in, got a little angry about it. Clearly there was some kind of connection there that we didn't know about. And then he also mentioned Satoshi in front of Mion and Reina. Mion was kind of on edge. She didn't really want to talk about where Reina kind of got a little crazy with it. Eyes glazed over, the whole 9 yards. So, clearly there's something afoot, which, I mean, we already knew there was something afoot regarding Satoshi, of course, but then clearly Satoshi had some stronger connections that we didn't quite know about, right? He was more than just Satoko's brother. He had some kind of connection to Shion, some kind of connection to Reina. There's clearly something more regarding that boy we don't know. And also, one thing that y'all point out in the comments that I hadn't caught is that the word they used, it's translated as coach currently, but the word they've been using to refer to Irie is the same word they were using to refer to the director in chapter 1. So I doubt that's a coincidence. Some of y'all were saying it's a mistranslation. I think it's probably intentional. It's intentionally done that way so you don't immediately, because if they just said, oh yeah, this is director Irie, you would immediately be drawn to, oh, he's the director. And then you're immediately going to draw that connection. It's probably translated that way intentionally so that, the English reader isn't immediately going, oh, wait, now hold up. I recognize that word. Is this guy involved in something deeper? Which I'm not surprised at all that Irie is definitely involved in something deeper. There's definitely something strange about that guy as well. That's also another thing we learned in the previous recording session, is that Irie is definitely someone we need to keep away from the children. And where did... Oh, my log's not going to show me shit because it's a brand new load. I'm trying to remember where exactly we just left off. I'm pretty sure it's just after our conversation with Reina and Mion. I'm pretty sure that's where we last left off, because we were walking home with each other from school. Alright, and we sent Reina home by herself because we had the conversation. Reina got weird, and then Mion was like, Keiichi, you should come over and borrow a book. And then I kind of got mad at Keiichi for not actually going over and borrowing a book, because now if Reina presses him on it, he's got nothing to back up his story. He's got no proof of his alibi. And I believe this is the very next morning. So without further ado, let's jump into it.
あら、ゆうべは何時に寝たの?
I did not sleep well last night at all. My mother could tell from a single glance. I had the worst dreams. Nightmares, very ominous dreams, one after the other, again and again. I woke up after each one, but could never even remember a fraction of what they had been about. But it was like those dreams were predicting something unpleasant. Dreams. And I woke up in a terrible mood. Did we see something about dreams? Hey now. Every day has been calm and fun before today, right? Oh, that's right. He made one statement at the very end of the day. That's right. After he got home, or maybe shortly after his conversation with Mion, after he had that very weird interaction with Reina, he made a statement that he's like, I hope after today things just go back to normal. And then it's like ... but I doubt that things ever would get, or like something about like, I had no idea things would never get normal again or something. Kind of hinting that, things are gonna start to get fucking crazy here shortly. Those days should continue on, unchanging. And yet, anxiety was the only emotion growing within me. Why was that? Nightmares reflect your own anxiety. They show an uneasy mind that which you wouldn't admit to normally. Yesterday, I remember the ominous conversations about Satoshi I had with Shion, Mion, and Reina. Right. My mind felt like it was in a black fog because we had talked about that. If I'd lived every day without causing a fuss, my reward would be ever more peaceful days. I understood that, so why did I cause such discord? But now that I thought about it calmly, a simple verbal slip on my part can possibly change the world. Oh, you poor dude. Yeah. As long as I'm sorry for doing it and never talk about it again, there's nothing that anyone could blame me for, right? As long as I'm sorry for it, right? If the last chapter taught us anything, being sorry for it ain't gonna save your ass, bud. Besides, how would my fate possibly change just because I talked about that? Nothing was going to change. Yeah, nothing would change. Nothing would change. Nothing would change. Okay, if you have to repeat it to yourself like this, I don't think you're fully convinced.
気持ち悪い笑い。寝ぼけてるなら顔を洗ってらっしゃい。
I'd finally cheered up enough to smile, and Mom slapped me right back down. I was irritated again. There wasn't much time left before I had to meet up with Reina. I frantically started to get ready to go to school.
行ってらっしゃい。車に気をつけるのよ。
気をつけるほど車もいないよ。南沢には。
I dashed out the front door. The morning air was far more refreshing than the water on my face. That's right, Keiichi, my bada. If you're sorry enough about it and reflect upon your mistakes, that's enough. Sure. Now let's pull yourself together and get to school. And return to fun, enjoyable days, where everyone laughs, plays, and just has a good time. I'll be nice to Satoko as an apology, too. Did we do something to Satoko? What would we need to apologize to Satoko for? I mean, I guess we did mention Satoshi around her. But, like, she didn't have the same visceral reaction that Reina did. Yeah. Wasn't I supposed to be her Nini until Satoshi got back?
Ohayo, Keiichi-kun.
Reina, too, looked nothing like she had yesterday when she said that weird stuff. If I could only forget, then I could still act like nothing had happened. So I called out to her with all the energy I could muster.
おう、おはようレナ。相変わらず早いな。おはよう。おはようございます。
There was little time before the same old morning homeroom began. But Satoko and Rika-chan were unusually absent. No. No, don't do this to me. No. I haven't even been recording for 10 whole minutes. You can't be dropping this on me now. Maybe they went to play somewhere. However, looking over and seeing none of their things, so it looked like they really hadn't come to school.
あれ、あの二人が遅刻なんて珍しいね。
Reina seemed to be enjoying herself, thinking about what their excuse for being late would be. Mion said something nonsensical as well, imagining how funny the reason they were late must have been. I'd only come to school to see their energetic faces, since I figured it would get rid of these feelings I have. But the load on my chest remained where it was. It wasn't very pleasant at all.
おはようございます。委員長、号令。起立。
Our teacher finally arrived. Then, finally, I heard the pitter-patter of footsteps running down the hall. No. Rika-chan was the first to run through the open door, and then Satoko didn't come. No! You motherfuckers, don't do this to me.
遅刻ですよ、フルで。北条さんはどうしましたか？
It was unusual for Rika-chan to be late, but equally unusual for Satoko, a ball of energy, to be absent at all. Everyone's eyes were wide at the series of strange events.
さとこはちょっと遅れ。熱でも出ちゃいましたか？
Teacher walked over to Rika-chan and they started talking in hushed tones.
リカちゃんが遅刻でサトコが欠席なんて珍しいこともあるもんだよ。
そうだね。だけど、さとこちゃんどうしたんだろう。風邪かな。
Why now, when I most wanted to see Satoko's energetic face? The unease that had been building since last night tightened within my chest.
ケイちゃんは心配しすぎ。年頃の女の子にはね、どうしても体の都合で具合が悪くなっちゃうとき。
みーちゃん、それ男の子の前で言うことじゃないよ。
Mion laughed indecently. Normally I would laugh along with her, but right now I just didn't feel like it. And Homer mended. We went to talk to Riki-chan the short time we had before first period
よう
started.
リカちゃん、遅刻して怒られてかわいそうかわい。今日は俺がなでなでしてあげよ
I was very aware of my gloom this morning, so I strove to keep my tone cheerful. Pat Riki-chan's head the same way she always did, but she didn't cheer up at all.
み
う。さとこはどうしたんだ？風邪か？
For instance, she got a fever from playing around too much yesterday. If that had been a response, I would have accepted it in a
う
flash.
ん
But the atmosphere around Riki-chan felt somehow heavy. It was a little weird and actually made my unease worse.
ほらほら、男の子には話せない事情ってのもあるんだから。
Yeah, I don't think that's the case here, though.
ケイちゃんはお席へ戻って戻って。
Mion, acting just like a club president, pulled me back to my chair. Riki-chan's gaze immediately fell back to her desk. She hung her head gloomily. Riki-chan had said something odd. That Satoko might be a little late. They were living together, weren't they? Then she would have known for sure. She wouldn't have said might. Didn't understand why she was absent, and that made me all the more anxious. Damn it, what's going on today? It's like we started off on the wrong foot, and it wasn't going to get any better.
どうしたのかな、ケイチくん。今日はなんだか朝から元気ないよ。
Gee, I wonder. Ray noticed how I looked and whispered to me while the teacher wasn't looking.
そんなに俺元気ないか？
うん、見てるレナまで元気がなくなるくらいに。
I thought of jokingly saying, then don't look at me, but I didn't even feel like doing that.
レナに話せること？どんな悩みかわからないけど、聞いて力になれることなら聞くよ。
I won't tease you. Reina said this, looking me straight in the
昨
eye.
日まで何も変なことなんか起きなくて楽しかったんだ。
Reina's eyes widened for a moment, not understanding what I meant, but she remained silent and
穏や
listened.
かで楽しくて、そんな毎日が繰り返されることに何の不安もなかっ
うん、そうだね。毎日楽し、きっと今日も楽しく。
た。絶対にそうなるって自信が持てるか？
うん。
Reina, feeling perplexed, couldn't think of something to say. I didn't blame her. What I was trying to say seemed a little confusing even to me.
思えばここ最近不安だったんだ。毎日が楽しいからこそ、ある日ふっと電球が切れるみたいに突然真っ暗になってしまうんじゃないかって。
うん、その気持ち、ちょっぴりレナもわかるよ。
Reina nodded gently.
私たちはいいことばかりは続かないって、楽しいことの裏側を時々恐れるよね。それってちょっぴり悲しいことだけど、でもそのおかげで私たちは楽しい毎日がずっと続くように努力することを覚えたんだよ。
そうだな。
だからケイチくんが楽しい日々がいつまでも続かないかもしれないって思うのは、例えば明日突然火山が大爆発して私たちが全員死んじゃうとする。
おいおい、物騒な話だな。
例えばその大災害をケイチくんだけが生き残ったとしたらどう感じる？
どうって。
I imagined myself being that sole survivor in the ruins of Hinamizawa, rubble and the bodies of friends lying in heaps at my feet. It was such an abhorrent sight. Was it sadder that all my friends had died? Or was it sadder that I couldn't have died with them? I didn't know which, but I'd probably cry a lot.
胸が張り裂けるだろうな。まず泣くと思う。
そしてこうなることが運命だったなら、昨日までの日をもっともっと楽しく悔いなく過ごせばよかったって。
I didn't want to consider such a horrible event to be my destiny, but
思うだろうな。
楽しい毎日がいつか終わるものなら、それだったらたとえ明日そうなっても悔いがないように精一杯楽しく生きるのが正解じゃないのかな。
そうだな。
それに気づくのは多くの人たちは日々の幸せに飽食してるよ。今日と同じ明日が訪れると信じきってるから。
it's
今
true.
日できることを明日に送る。今日してやれる優しさを明日に送ってしまう。
Reina was usually cheerful and silly, but right now she wasn't like that at all. She was taking my trouble seriously. It was a little reassuring.
でも 圭一くんはそれに気づけた。それはとても素敵なことだと思う。だからその不安な気持ち大切にしてもいいと思うの。
この不安を大切に？
そう、明日には大災害でみんな死んじゃうかもしれない。だから今日みんなにいっぱい優しくしよう。本当に週末が訪れた時後悔しないために。
レナは実践してる。明日みんなが死んじゃっても後悔しないようにさ。
It was such a hyperbolic conversation, but Reina just gave me a nonchalant nod of her head.
レナは楽しい毎日がたった一日を境に終わって、今日が楽しくても明日も楽しい保証なんかないって生きてるよ、精一杯。
It seemed like Reina perfectly understood all the anxiety I couldn't put into words. On top of that, like a reliable teacher, she showed me what to do. Oh. Hey, Keiichi Maibara. There's no need to cry now.
ゆうべ聡子の夢を見た。どんな夢だったかは思い出せないけど、朝からずっと不安で。
聡子ちゃんの元気な顔を見れたら安心するつもりかな。
She was right on the money. If everyone had been here with smiles on their faces this morning, then the murk in my heart would have definitely been blown to smithereens.
じゃあ聡子ちゃんが来たら優しくしてあげることだね。いつもの悪ふざけでも一向に構わない。楽しく過ごすことができるなら。
そうだな。
So that even if these fun days came to an end, I'd have no regrets. Couldn't tell if what Reina had told me had been comforting or just made me more anxious, but it was enough to make me think that if I saw Satoko again, I'd be honest with her. Lunchtime arrived, with everyone pushing their desks together like always. Satoko wasn't here. Despite that, we had bento boxes for 5 lined up on our desks. Riki-chan had made a bento for Satoko too.
聡子、お昼までには来るはずだったの？
Riki-chan was clearly acting strangely. We were talking to her, but it felt like she was too far away to hear us. Never seen Riki-chan so downcast. So the rest of us started feeling down too. Hey, Reina. I understood what she had said before pretty well. When we were together, we were supposed to have lots of fun so we wouldn't have any regrets if the world ended tomorrow. And yet, while I just resolved myself to do it, now we can't all be together. What the hell? Because it was just so sudden, wasn't it? I mean, yesterday was fun, so who could believe it would all end today? No volcanoes had erupted, no earthquakes or fires had happened either. The cicadas were making the same noises they did yesterday, and the sun remained bright in the sky. It was the same normal day as always. So then, why? As I pondered, Reina's chopsticks reached in front of my face and stole the fried chicken out of my bento.
みんなが取らないからレナがもらうね。おいしい。
Reina tossed the entire piece into her mouth and began munching on it, her expression one of bliss.
と、おじさんとしたことがレナに先生を許すとはね。よっしゃ、おじさんはこのプチハンバーグをもらうよ。
みえ、僕のおかずがなくなってしまうのです。
Riki-chan, also behind the curve, smiled again and went for someone else's bento. As I sat there dazed at how quickly everyone had changed, Reina sent a wink over to me. Come on, Keiichi-kun. Live life to the fullest. That way if a volcano erupts tomorrow, it'll be okay.
最後の弁当が梅干しとご飯だけになってたまるか。それ、俺はミートボールをいただくぞ。
Stuffed the meat into my mouth and constructed a clumsy smile. I played along as if trying to fool myself. But as I did, it rapidly became less and less of an act. Satoko still wasn't here, but at some point we had regained our lively lunchtime. We had fun, we smiled, and we fooled around. Thanks, everyone. This was definitely the best thing to do. This way, when Satoko suddenly dropped by, we could welcome her with our best smiles. The more I smiled, the more I felt the anxiety from this morning clearing away.
笑う角に服着たるってことわざあったよな。
What?
あるね。それが事実なら、おじさんは四六時中笑い転げてるよ。
レナは本当だと毎日笑ってれば毎日が楽しいよ。レナがいいことを言いますです。
じゃあ試してみるか。
Everyone took a deep breath, then brought their faces together, locking shoulders. And then... I can only think of the fucking Final Fantasy X laughing scene. Everyone laughed uproariously from their stomachs, trying to laugh out all the bad stuff accumulating in them. By the time our bento boxes were empty, everyone was right as rain. That's nice. Where's Satoko? You're not gonna cheer me up that quickly, goddammit. Where's my little brat at? I want her back. Having heard our friendly banter, Tomita-kun and Nakamura-kun walked up and timidly spoke to us.
楽しくお話し中。ちょっとお力をお借りしたくて。
They grinned dryly and scratched their heads.
なんだよ一体テストの対策法は以前教えただろちなみに千恵先生が授業中と含み笑いを教科書で隠した時が次のテスト範囲だ。
そうなんですか？
That's not what we're here for, said Tomita-kun, elbowing Okamura-kun.
ボールが2階の雨どいに引っかかっちゃった。前原さんなら身長高いからなんと。
ほう、先輩に物を頼むからには俺は高いぜ。簡単に買収できると思うなよ。
Tomita-kun and Okamura-kun conversed for a short time, then gave their reply.
では前原さんには授業中に居眠りができる。それでどうで。
なんだそりゃ、授業中に寝るのはなんでお前らに権利をもらわなくちゃならんの。
そんなことない。今度は前原さんが居眠りしたら全部先生に言いつけることにしますから。なるほど、うまいうまい。
こいつらとんでもない交渉の仕方を覚えや。
ちょっとした冗談っす。ほらほら、おとなしく後輩たちの脅迫に屈したら。
Now Mion was getting on my nerves. Suddenly it came to me. I took Tomita-kun and Nakamura-kun's hands.
わかった。ボールを取ってやるから居眠りの権利を俺にくれ。見ろミオン。俺はちゃんでもお前はもらってない。富田君、岡村君、ミオンが居眠りしたらいいな。
Diana and Riki-chan began to cackle at Keiichi-kun's victory. I wasn't sure how the ball managed to get stuck up there, but it was planted firmly in the school building's second floor gutter.
その棒を貸せ。俺なら多分届く。よいしょっと。
Took a bamboo pole and poked the ball with it. Damn, it's hard. Come on.
取れましたよ前原さん。どうもありがとうございました。
The ball rolled down the gutter and fell down behind the school building. My underclassmen ran over in that direction, leaving me by myself. Mission complete, I guess. Sheesh. There was still a lot of time left until lunch break was over. Guess I should go back to the classroom. I had absorbed myself in a silly conversation with everyone and wait for afternoon classes. Just when I thought that and turned towards the entrance, someone suddenly called out to me.
どうもどうも。
No. 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 Not Oishi. No. That means something really bad did happen. No. Fuck. No. Oh yeah, and that's something we also found out is like the body that was discovered at the very beginning of this chapter was connected to the Hojo family. I think that was something that was actually in like a recent tip scene, I think. Man.
お昼休み中すみませんね。
It was a middle-aged man I didn't know. Or maybe I'd passed by him a few times and I'd seen his face, but I didn't know him. When his half-smile deepened, something within me shuddered with fear. Yeah, there was no basis for that. No reason. But I shuddered. I was somewhat confused about these emotions, not quite understanding them myself. There's one thing I could say, though. Nobody but teachers and students should be at school. This person shouldn't have been here. I felt less of a tremble, more of a sense of dread, like a caterpillar brilliantly colored in garish bilious greens were crawling across my forehead. A feeling of disgust that neither itchy nor gross could describe as the frizzly, dreadful hair rubbed against my brow. I didn't even want to see his face. I wanted to jump backwards and run away. An unpleasant feeling, for which I didn't even know the cause. The other side of myself has nothing but questions. Hey, what are you doing? What are you disgusted by? This is the first time you've met him. It's rude to hate someone for no reason. No answers were coming. I held my silence, waiting, a damp sweat running down my forehead. When he saw that, Oishi thought maybe he was being intimidating and gave me a relaxed smile.
ああ、失礼します。怪しいもんじゃない。私、沖宮警察署から参りました。大石と申します。あれ、手帳どこかな。あれ参ったな。ありゃ
He fished through various pockets, then finally found his police ID and showed it to me, grinning dryly. May have been trying to use those clumsy-seeming actions to ease my anxiety, but I could definitely say it didn't work. Why was I this nervous? There was a reason, of course. If I wanted today to be the same as before, then today didn't need someone who hadn't been here back then. That is true. The fact that a man who wasn't here yesterday showed up today meant that today would be a different day than those before it. That would mark the end of the fun and happy days. I gulped and erased that ominous conclusion from my mind. Calm down, Keiichi, my bada. It's just an old guy who looks kind of perverted and came from the police department. Don't go deciding that the fun times are over. He just came here because of his job. Yeah, just for his job. If he's working, then he would normally go to the teacher's lounge, right? The fact that he spoke to me... Yes, it must have been to ask where it was.
職員室をお探しですか？なら、あそこの昇降口から入って。
I didn't want to look at this man for another second, so I started pushing things along. Oishi, however, didn't seem to have any interest in the teacher's lounge.
ああ、いえいえ。職員室にはそんなに用事はないんです。それより、お友達を呼んでもらいたいんですが、お願いできますかね
It's gonna be Rika, isn't it?
お友達？誰です？
女の子です。北条聡子さんを呼んできてもらえませんか
Oh, that's why she didn't come to school. My consciousness grew faint, like I was about to pass out. Yes, my anxiety was realized. The dreadful, disgusting caterpillar was looking at me, about to crawl into my ear. Its frizzly, dreadful hair was touching my ear cavity. That's how bad it felt.
警察が
いえいえ、大した用事じゃ2、3聞きたいことがありまして、ご協力をいただければ嬉しいんですがね。
Why? Why, of all people, was it Satoko? Why would a police officer come here in the middle of the day for something that wasn't important? This man was strange. I could smell it. And it smelled bad. Just a whiff of it made me want to grimace. I knew that this man couldn't possibly be here to deliver her lost wallet or anything. Couldn't imagine what he needed from Satoko, but it had to be something unpleasant. My throat stung with burning pain. Burned like a parched, creviced wasteland. The wasteland broke apart deep in my throat and brought out the words from deep in my mind.
あんたに用はあっても帰ってくれませんか？
Oh, she probably hadn't expected that reply. He stood there surprised for a few moments. I did as well. I hadn't thought words like that could ever come out of my mouth. Things might still work out. This guy may have shown up out of the blue, but if I drove him off, maybe I could make it so that it never happened. If I could do that, then I could get back. The peace we had until yesterday, I could get it back.
これは手厳しいな。あなた、聡子さんのマネアポイントメントがないと面会は叶いませんか
話がしたいだけなら電話ですればいいじゃない。日中学校にまで押しかけてくるなんて明らかに異常です。
Breaking through a dam would have been the perfect analogy to use. Why didn't I like this man? This man shouldn't have been here. I needed to make it so that this man wasn't here. Childish, selfish emotions bubbled up from the depths of my mind, and they each came out of my mouth just as it had been formed. Not liking this guy was my own problem. But to say things so bluntly to him, even I thought I was crazy.
ありゃ、いちいち正論な方ですね。こういう言い方をする人は苦手なんだよな。
As she grinned, scratched at his sweaty throat. Even as he feigned stupidity, I could tell he was irritated. Hey, Keiichi Maibara. Why am I looking for a fight with this old policeman here? I It's not like he brought the gift of misfortune with him, all wrapped up in paper, right? Right. It wasn't like he had brought a package of misfortune with him and was asking me to sign here, please. Rationally speaking, I understood all that. So then, why was I so... Finally, I outlasted Oishi in our game of silence, and he gave a big sigh. Then he addressed a few of my female underclassmen shit.
Moshi moshi, kimi tachi.
Running around nearby, okay.
ちょっといいですかな。北条聡子さんを呼んできてほしいんです。
My underclassmen tried to smile and reply, but they noticed the oddly stiff air atmosphere around me and seemed hesitant to give a quick answer.
いませんか、北条聡子さん。
北条さんは今日はお休みですけど。
休み。
His face remained smiling, but his tone was clearly one of ill humor. Such conspicuous spite caused my underclassmen, who had answered honestly, to cringe in fear.
そうですか。いやはやい、これはついてないです。
He was smiling broadly, but the way he laughed didn't make me feel better at all. When he noticed that his laughter wasn't getting anyone else to laugh with him, he immediately stopped.
で、君たち、ここにいるお兄さんは、なんて名前か、
He grabbed the girls by the shoulders so they wouldn't run away and crouched down to address them at eye level. The girls flinched away from the sharp, piercing light in his eyes. In exchange for their release, they didn't resist and told him my name.
ほう、前原圭一さんですか。
He said my full name. That was all he said, and yet I couldn't help but shudder. It was like he had grabbed me by the collar just with those words.
あなた、ひょっとして例の前原屋敷の御曹司。お父さん、高名な芸術家さんなんですって。年に2回ほど東京の大展覧会に出展されてるそうじゃないですか。どんな立派な絵を描かれるかは存じませんがね。お母さんも知的そうな方じゃないですか。高学歴って聞きましたよ。どこぞの女子大を出ら、あの年の女性で女子大でなんてすごいですよ。ひょっとしてお母さん、両家のお嬢さんなんじゃないですか。なんて噂が立ってるせいか。町内会の会合、最初の1回以外は出てないでしょう。そういうのっていけないんですよね。こういう土地ではご近所付き合いをないがしろになんかできませんよ。
A sense of eeriness slithered up my spine. Yeah, I'm... Like, goddamn. I don't know what he's trying to get out of this. Like, I'm not too surprised that, like, he has, like, all this knowledge on Keiichi, right? It doesn't surprise me in the slightest. That, like, we know Oishi is the type to, you know, do his deep dives, do his research and whatnot. But, like, all of a sudden he gets all fucking weird. He gets all, like, not like physically aggressive with the kids, but like he's clearly being a bit pushy with the smaller kids, and now he's like, oh, you're Keiichi, yeah? And then he just starts listing off all these facts about my parents, just like, I guess as like an intimidation tactic to be like, look at all these things I know about you. And it's like, okay, that's great. How does this get you to Satoko? Because clearly that's who you want to talk to, right? What's your game here, buddy? That was my first experience of true terror. I couldn't believe it felt this terrible. For someone you've just met, to know everything about you already. Oishi clamped onto my shoulders, brought his eyes close to peer into mine.
こういう土地ではね、敵は作らない方が絶対にいいですよ。さもないと。
Ow. Oishi dug into my shoulders with inhuman strength.
思わぬところで不利益を受けるかもしれません。因果応報という言葉もありますよ。風が吹けば桶屋が儲かるの正反対です。妙なところで買った恨みが信じられないところで帰ってくることがあるかもしれません。そうなったら嫌でしょ誰だって恨みなんか買いたくないんです。敵を作らないに越したことなんかない。どうし、肩がだいぶ凝ってますね。ちょっと揉んであげましょうか。ほら、 気持ちいいでしょう
This man wasn't just strong. It was like he knew exactly where to press to make me feel pain. Ugh, only 4 or 5 fingers were on my shoulders, and yet the pain made me want to bend over backwards. A few of the girls from my class were pretty shaken up, but didn't seem to want to help me. We weren't sure if they could go call the teacher. As for me, I couldn't take the time to wait until the teacher got here. It hurts.
もうそれくらいになさってください。痛がってますよ。
え
Behind Oishi-san, someone. To my disbelief, it was Coach.
おや、これは入江先生じゃありませんか。ご無沙汰しておりますね。
Discomforted by Coach's sudden appearance, Oishi laughed scornfully. The vice on my shoulders, however, remained strong as ever.
挨拶はいいです。それよりも、前原くんを離してあげてください。
Oishi smiled daringly and glared straight at Coach. He didn't release me in the meantime, of course.
先生のところにもいつもお忙しいとかでろくろくお話ができませんからね。
ええ、お望みとあれば。でもその前に、職務質問と任意同行は拒否できますからね。
Coach didn't display a shred of the weird behavior he'd shown at the baseball game and barbecue. He stared steadily at Oishi, fought so hard that he would release me. His chances were terribly bad, of course. Compared to the relaxed Oishi, Coach seemed like he was being defeated mentally. It made sense. Coach had a somewhat narrow stature, but Oishi's body was packed with muscles. It wasn't even a contest. But Coach was fighting for me without taking a step back. Beads of sweat formed on his face, and though he paled, he was fighting for my sake. Suddenly, Oishi laughed and let go of my shoulders. My body, exhausted, I fell right onto my backside.
前原くん、大丈夫ですか？
くそ。いてててて。
I rubbed my shoulders where Oishi had latched onto them. The pain from falling over went away quickly, but this pain was lingering.
大丈夫ですか？ひどいこと。
くそ。いて。
ちょっと肩を揉んだだけ。前原さんも少し男の子はもう少し我慢強くなくっちゃ。
I wanted to retort, but couldn't think of anything witty.
肩は上がりますか？痛みますか？痛みが強いようなら、とにかく保健室へ。
Coach lent me his shoulder and walked beside me.
大げさですね。私に限って傷が残るような真似をするわけがないじゃない。ねえ。私、これでも現職の警察官なんですよ。
さあ、どんなご用があったか存じませんが、もうご用がないならお帰りを。今日のことは、今度所長さんに直接抗議しますから。
それは困る。
Oishi-san waved his hand sarcastically, pivoted around, and headed to the car parked by the school gates. Without turning back around, he got in and started the engine. Damn it. Who the hell was he? Damn it.
あいつは、大石クランドという乱暴者でね、村中に嫌われている男。前原さんも用心した方がいい。
Kurado Oishi. Just like I thought, my gut instinct wasn't wrong. He would be the one to bring unhappiness, misfortune, something that would ruin our peace. Shit, I won't accept it. All these fun days can't possibly end just because some guy like him showed up. I won't accept it. Coach seemed to be familiar with the school, so he brought me to the nurse's office without much trouble. The girls from my class came along as well, looking worried. Our teacher and the principal, having noticed the disturbance, came to see what was the matter.
前原くん、どうしたんですか？怪我でも。前原さん、さっき校庭で変なおじさんに。
Coach gently interrupted the girls trying to explain.
いえ、ちょっと転んでひねったみたいです。大丈夫だとは思いますけど、保健室をちょっとお借りいたします。
入江先生、よろしくお願いしますぞ。
I don't think I want to be left alone in the nurse's office with Irie. Like, sure, he got me away from Oishi, which is great. Thanks, bud. But also, can't help but feel a little uncomfortable at the thought of being left alone with Irie. Looks like Coach was acquainted with the adults at school. He slid open the doors to the nurse's office, but there wasn't a nurse in there or anything. I'd figured. I'd never seen anyone but Chie-sensei and the principal working here. Coach didn't seem to mind the fact that there was no nurse, quickly made his way into the nurse's office. He instructed me to sit down and started washing his hands in the sink. Oh, I get it. He's the coach for the boys' baseball team. Must be pretty used to treating wounds with first aid.
ちょっと患部を見せてもらい、まだ痛みます。
いえ、もう本当に大丈夫です。
I rolled up my shirt and showed him my shoulder. No bruise, not even nail marks. Yet it hurt so much I thought my shoulders would be crushed. Even the pain had disappeared without a trace. It hurt so much, not so much as a bruise remained.
それだけあいつが慣れているということですよ。
Used to it, huh?
今度会った時は挑発しないことです。あいつを怒らせて得をすることは何もあり、自宅に制服警官を連れて押しかけてきたら、ご家族だっていい気持ちはしないでしょ。
それは確かに。
しかし何があったんです？前原さんがあいつと喧嘩になる。
あいつ里子に用事があるとか言ってきて。
え？里子ちゃんにですか？
Coach's gaze lowered and his expression clouded a bit. Somehow that gesture seemed to be saying Oishi was bound to come to Satoko, and that it was no laughing matter. Coach fell silent in thought. Quietly, he took a compress out of the first aid kit and put it on me.
あの男はまだ里子ちゃんに付きまとうつもりなんでしょうか。本当に蛇みたいにしつこい男です。
Coach mumbled to himself.
付きまとう？あの大石っていうやつ、たびたび里子のところへ来てるんですか？
Coach didn't answer, but the lack of a denial served well enough. What on earth did the policeman, probably a detective or something, need from Satoko? What mistake had led a detective to cling to the sweetly smiling Satoko?
前原さんは、そうか、引っ越してきたばかりでした。
ええ、そうですけど。
お社様のたたりと里子ちゃんの話は少しは聞いたことがありますか？
Well, I knew a few things about it, certainly.
里子の両親が転落事故で死んだのはたたりだって話ですか？
Coach smiled thinly and dryly. So you know, he said, dropping his gaze. If I recalled correctly, there was an accident on a viewing platform at the public park she'd gone to with her family, and her parents died. And then, it was just big brother and little sister. Then she was with Rika-chan, and,
ご両親が亡くなった里子ちゃんとお兄さんのさとしくんはおじ夫婦宅に身を寄せることになりました。
え、あ、そうなんですか。
their parents died in the accident, Satoshi ran away, leaving only Satoko to start living with Rika-chan. I'd known that much, but this is the first time I'd heard they'd been brought to their uncle and aunt.
おじというのは里子ちゃんのお父さんの弟にあたる方なんです。残念なことに夫婦揃ってちょっと尊敬に値する方々ではありませんでした。
Coach normally picked his words politely, so when he came out and said that they didn't deserve respect, it made me wonder what kind of people they were.
里子ちゃんの両親がダムに賛成していたとばっちりで、おじ夫婦も村内ではとても肩身の狭い思いをしていました。里子ちゃんたちを歓迎するはずもなかったんです。里子ちゃんたち兄弟にとってとても辛い生活だったと聞き及んでいます。
Bit by bit, Coach told me about the numerous agonies the Hojo siblings had suffered at their uncle's house. As their guardians, their aunt and uncle sucked up everything belonging to their immediate family. Satoko and Satoshi were crammed into a small room, and their lives were laden with things that were miserable both for their bodies and minds. In the first place, since apparently their aunt and uncle weren't on good terms, there was no end to their fighting. And as if in revenge for that, whenever they saw Satoko or Satoshi's face, they'd always find fault with them, scold them, yell at them, strike them, and take away meals as punishment.
今思い出しても、今の元気な里子ちゃんしか知らないあなたには土毛色の顔をしてただ日陰でぼーっとしているだけの彼女など想像もつかないでしょう。
I couldn't imagine it, and I didn't want to. That was how I honestly felt. But at the very least, Satoko wasn't like that anymore. She may have had a miserable life in the past, but it was different now. Something happened to change that life.
去年の綿流しのお祭りの夜にね、異常者にバットか何かで殴り殺されて。
Okay.
綿流しの祭りの夜には 村の旧敵がたたりで死ぬと噂されてましたからね。
Now, why do I feel like that's not the same story that I heard before? Because I ran into this last time they mentioned Satoko's parents. Because I was under the impression it was the uncle that killed the woman, and then Satoshi was the one that was ghosted. So I'm gonna do something real quick. Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. No wonder I've been getting conflicting stories. Because I was like, wasn't there like newspaper clippings from all the... That was in like the tip scene from chapter 1, right? There was all these like newspaper clippings about the previous incidents. But now that I'm actually reviewing the footage, that's right. The housewife murder was the one where there wasn't a newspaper clipping. There wasn't something in the tabloids about it. Because I suppose that's when they started cracking down and, you know, not letting any of the information leak to the media and whatnot. Oh, that's fucked. So it truly doesn't matter what anyone has said in the past. Fuck. It doesn't matter what anyone has said in the past or what anyone continues to say about it, because we genuinely do not know what well, there's no official record of what happened. There's no official record. All we have is word of mouth from others. So for all I know, someone did say that in chapter 1. Someone did say that it was the uncle that, you know, beat the wife to death and then he went to prison. But then now, you know, Irie is telling me, he's like, oh yeah, it was just some deviant, you know, broke into their house, beat her with a bat. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. I had totally forgotten about that fact. The fact that there was no official coverage of the housewife's murder.
この死も単なる殺人事件としてだけでなく、
Fucking course they said that.
お社様のたたりではないかと村中でささやかれました。
2 days later, the deviant arrested for drug use, confessed to further offenses, and the incident was resolved. However, though it was resolved, no one knew whether the part about it being Oyashiro-sama's curse was true or not.
おじだって平見沢の人間ですからね。
So the uncle's still around. Now, see, you're not telling me the same thing that someone else told me. That whoever killed the housewife also killed themselves while in custody. Or while in prison. Right? Because that was a part of what something else I think someone had told me in chapter 2. Might have been chapter 1. In one of the previous chapters, one of the things we learned, or at least one of the things we were told anyway, was that they like choked themselves with something. They swallowed something that they're not supposed to swallow and took their own life through that. But now that's not being brought up. Now it's just like, oh yeah, it was some deviant who was, you know, high on drugs who then confessed to other crimes. Okay. So last year's incident isn't as clean cut either, right? The first 2 incidents with the dam project and the Fuda days, that seemed to be a lot more clean cut, a lot more organized, right? But the fact that this most recent one had no media coverage, we keep getting conflicting stories about what happened. This Satoshi person's playing a much bigger role in the story than we realize.
お社様のたたりを大層怖がり、逃げ出して雲隠れしてしまったそうです。
Oh, did he?
聞いた話では、沖宮あたりの実婚の中の女性宅に転がり込んでるとか。
それで解放されたんですか、聡子たちは。
おばは死に、 誰も兄弟をいじめる者はいなくなるはず。まるでその後を継ぐように、あの男が執拗に現れるようになったんです。
あの男？
Then Coach lowered his voice just a bit as if being aware of his surroundings.
大石です。
大石、さっきの男。
The events that just occurred came back to me. The hard to describe ominous sensation I felt from him came back to me.
あいつはお社様のたたりをめぐる一連の事件はみんな解決しているのに、あいつだけがそれを認めていないんです。
Accepted. The incidents were all solved, and a detective supposedly with the police department didn't accept that.
あいつが近づく人間には必ず何かよからぬことが起こると言われています。ひなみ沢ではね、大石のことをお社様の。
The door flew open with a rattle, and Mion came rushing in. Then Rika-chan came running in a few steps behind her, then Tomita-kun, Akamoto-kun, and a few more of our classmates.
ケイちゃん、大石にやられたの？怪我を？
落ち着いて、怪我はありません。念のため疾走しているだけです。
ケイチ君、本当に大丈夫かな？みんなに聞いたら首を絞め上げられてたとか言ってて。
落ち着けよ、レン。肩をすげえ痛く握られ、ほら、あざだってないだろ。
みー。
Aww.
たく、あんたら何やってんだよ。仲間だろ。なんでぼーっとしてたんだよ。なんでケイちゃんを助けなかったんだよ。
ごめんなさい、委員長。
Mion yelled at our classmates, baring her fangs. Tomita-kun and the others hung their heads in silence.
よせよ、富田君たちはその場にいなかった。責めるのはよせ。
くしょう、大石のやつ。
Mion kicked the floor with her heel a few times, her temper running hot. Our teacher, overhearing the commotion, arrived as well.
こらこらこら、保健室で騒がしくして。委員長、みんなを連れて保健室から出なさい。
ほらみんな、もう行こう。ケイチ君は大丈夫だって。ほら、みーちゃんも。
Mion was letting her emotions get the best of her, so Reina stepped in instead and led everyone out of the nurse's office. The detective from Okonomiya Station, Karalda Oishi, looked like the first impression I'd gotten from him hadn't been mistaken. Satoko's absence had amplified the vague apprehensions I'd felt since yesterday, and Oishi's appearance basically sealed the deal.
さて、じゃあ私はもともと千恵先生に用事。
あ、用事があって学校に来たんです。俺なんかのために。どうもすみませんでした。
Don't be so humble, he said, smiling easily.
おかげで役得と言います。前原くんのきめ細やかなお肌も存分に堪能できましたよ。
The usual, for Coach anyway, parting words, he instead continued.
では、大した怪我ではありませんが、患部を揉んだりするようなことは、もしも高熱が出たり、腫れたりするようなことがあったら、そんなことはないと思いますが。
あ、そうだ、さっきみんなが来る直前、大石のことを、お社様のなんとかって。
As he was about to leave the nurse's office, Coach placed a hand on the door and stopped.
ああ、お社様の使いですよ。
Interesting. Interesting.
もちろん悪口ですがね。
I mean, I do suppose that makes sense, right? The people of the village just want to believe, it's the curse, or even if they don't believe in the curse, they don't want to actually get in the way of it. They don't want to acknowledge the fact that there's some higher force, carrying out these things and whatnot. So this police officer, he's trying to investigate into the actual crimes, but all they see is that he shows up shortly before these festivals because he's trying to, investigate what's going on. But then eventually someone ends up dead, so like, that's because that damn cop keeps showing up. Interesting. But that's the thing. That's also kind of weird though, because like if Oyashiro is the god that protects this area, and the people are supposed to like show their reverence to Oyashiro, why would being Oyashiro's servant necessarily be seen as a bad thing? They don't like him because they believe he carries out the crime, sure, but like to call him the servant of like the god of this village is kind of weird.
お
As an
社
insult.
様の使い？
前原さんはひなみ沢で毎年綿流しの夜に起こるひなみ沢村連続開始事件、通称お社様のたたりのことはご存知ですか？
You know, I don't think we've gotten the full lore drop yet. No.
連続開始？
Yeah, he hasn't been told about the Hurade deaths yet, has he?
え？
Now that I thought about it, I just seem to remember overhearing Mion and someone in class talking about it like a ghost story. On the festival day in June, one person would always die, another person would be spirited away, but they seem to call it demoning away here. What a fine story that was. Feared they made it up to scare me, but it was true?
一体どこの誰が言い出したのかもいつの頃からか大石のことをお社様の使いと
なぜですか？
あの男がその年のたたりの犠牲者を決めと噂されているからです。
In a sense, I could see that, right? He decides the sacrifices. If the people in your higher power are choosing to take out people they think would betray the village, right? They see them interacting with Oishi, and they're like, oh, they're clearly someone who's willing to reveal secrets, sell out the village, yada yada yada. So then this belief starts that anyone that comes into contact with Oishi is the one that goes next, right? But also, at the same time, I could see it being exactly true that Oishi is in the pocket of someone else, right? That Oishi, because that's the thing, there's clearly like a darker side to Oishi we get like little glimpses of, but we don't like, fully see it. I could totally see it being true that he is in cahoots with whoever the higher power is, whoever's carrying out these incidents and whatnot, and that he uses his position as a policeman to get in close to people, to question them, interrogate them, and then he reports back saying, oh, well, this person's willing to spill, this person was willing to talk, this person wasn't too apprehensive about talking, to help pick off who's going to be next to go. I could see it being both ways. Whenever June came around, Oishi would start paying frequent visits to
亡
Hinamizawa,
くなったり消えたりする人たちの多くがあの男の執拗な訪問を受けているからです。
which is precisely why they end up dead. 4 years ago, it was known that the victim of the dismemberment, rumored to be the sacrifice, had been seeing Oishi numerous times leading up to the incident. The sacrifices 3 years ago were Satoko's parents. Right before their accidental deaths, Oishi had apparently visited their home. The one who disappeared 2 years ago was Rika-chan's mother. And again, people know that before she vanished, Oishi had been talking to her extremely frequently. The one who disappeared last year, Satoko's dear older brother, Satoshi. Satoshi, too, had apparently been approached by Oishi many times before he vanished. Yeah. So that's the thing. And that's the thing. At the end of chapter 1, it kind of casts Oishi in like a negative light, right? It kind of casts suspicion on Oishi, right? Because it seems like Oishi is the one who, tore up the note and stole the syringe. That's what it seems to imply, anyway. Is that Oishi tore up the note and, took the syringe so that there was no evidence of that. Implying that he was possibly involved in the incidents. Which, if we think about chapter 1, yes, Keiichi was heavily connected to Oishi. He was talking to him a lot. Which would make him a very obvious target, right? I'm trying to see the angle, like, if Oishi is connected, right? If he's connected to these incidents himself as someone who's assisting in the perpetration of the incidents. I'm trying to see the motive there. And maybe there's just something we haven't seen yet. Maybe there's a connection that's yet to be revealed that would make so much more sense. Potentially. But there is also the fact that, like, everyone in the village hates him. That's also something you gotta consider. Like, everyone in the village can't fucking stand this guy. There's gotta be a reason for that, right? More so than just like, oh, he's a cop who asks too many questions. Like, I feel like it's gotta be something more to that. But see, that's the thing. Now we're just now getting this lore drop that Oishi has had a lot of contact with everyone from the beginning, right? Like the damn foreman who got dismembered was in contact with Oishi frequently. That's something we didn't really know. We didn't know he had spoken to him very frequently. You know, Oishi has never brought that up, nor has anyone else brought that up. All we truly know about Oishi is that, like, Mion has had her run-ins with Oishi that has caused some drama or whatnot. That's also the thing. If you're the one in the police department, you're the one filing the reports, you essentially have the power to control the narrative that gets pushed out, right? So regardless of what the truth may have been, right, as to the damn foreman's death or the guy who ran away's circumstances, unless there's other witnesses, you have the power to say, oh, someone disappeared, right? This person died, but this person disappeared. We haven't found the remains. So in the evidence of Satoko's parents, if there were no other witnesses, and you did manage to get, like, her mother's body and, like, dispose of it in some way, then you can be like, oh, someone died, someone disappeared. If you're the one who files the reports, you have the ability to control the narrative around it, so on and so forth. It's not that it's unbelievable for Oishi to be involved. It definitely isn't. It's very believable that he could be involved in some capacity. Dirty and corrupt cops are not, this brand new shocking concept, right? It's just trying to see the motive behind it. Trying to find that motive behind it. But right now, I got nothing. And then this time, Oishi was trying to contact Satoko. Don't say that. Don't say that. Don't put it into perspective like that. Because obviously my first thought is always Keiichi. Keiichi's the one that always ends up interacting with Oishi. Keiichi's the one that always ends up a target by the end of these chapters. It's always Keiichi. It's always the protagonist. Don't do me like this, dude. Don't. Last thing, Keiichi's never been the sacrifice on the night of the festival. That is always true. I was kind of hypothesizing maybe that's going to happen this time around because things seem to be accelerating very quickly, even before the festival has started. Like maybe he would be the sacrifice on the first night this time around. Please don't let it be Satoko.
冗談じゃないです。
Do you see him laughing?
噂ですよ。そういう噂があるというだけです。
Just like, idiot sensei, this isn't a joke. And idiot sitting there with like the most serious expression on his face, like, okay. Am I laughing? Am I smiling? Did I fucking tag an LOL to the end of my sentence? No, like what the... I hadn't said that because of the rumors of Oishi being Oyashiro-sama's servant, or his contacting someone foreshadowing who would be the sacrifice that year. It was because the ominous hatred I felt towards Oishi was becoming more substantiated, more real.
サトコ、今日欠席したじゃ。
え？そうなんですか？
That looked like news to Coach. I thought he might have known why Satoko was absent today, but
では失礼します。前原君も早くみんなのところに行って
then you'll get going?
安心させてあげるといいでしょう。
Then you'll get going. Now see, that's the thing. If Oishi is a conspirator, right, then it would make sense for the people in charge in the village to put on this front that they really hate the guy. Right? To convince the people that this guy has nothing to do with the village doesn't want him around. Because then that kind of casts the leaders of the village in a better light. If Oishi is the servant who decides who lives and who dies, we go, well, we have nothing to do with him, right? Yeah, and it's kind of like one of those things where, like, you know, the people in charge, they don't want to see their henchmen showing up at, like, their place of business, right? So, like, if Mion is in charge, and maybe Mion does actually have a connection to Oishi as the leader of the Sonozakis and whatnot, yo, she sees him show up on the school grounds, she gets pissed off. What are you doing here? This isn't where you're supposed to be. You're not fucking allowed around here. I don't want to fucking see you here, right? Like, the only real instance I could think of is, like, in Breaking Bad, for anyone familiar with that show. There's a scene where, like, Jesse shows up at Walter's house, and, like, he has dinner together with him and his wife, but, like, everyone's very uncomfortable with it, because I think, I can't remember if at that point Skylar already knows who Jesse is, but it's like, Walter's forced to have, like, his two lives come into contact. Like, he thinks Jesse and his family need to be kept separate because Jesse's part of his drug lord life, but, like, his family, he's a family man. He can't have the two lives, coming in contact. That creates conflict and drama. It's almost like they did that in the show or something. But it's kind of like I'm kind of thinking it's like a similar thing, right? Whether it's Irie, who could be this director character potentially, or whether it's Mion as leader of the Sonozakis, right? They're trying to keep these two things separate. So when Oishi comes into their public life and starts, like, showing his face around, it upsets them. It gets them pissed off. But also they need to maintain that irritated attitude towards him regardless, because they need the village thinking that they've got nothing to do with him. Once again, I think it's very plausible that Oishi is involved. I want to know the motive behind Oishi's involvement.
そうですね。そうします。
Coach left the nurse's office and head towards the teacher's lounge. Tips, notes, and Oishi's post memo. Okay. Research notes. Whose research? Okay, I just got an achievement that says learn Satoko's secret. Did I? Is that what this tip is about to tell me? The Hojo family. Every year, Yasho-sama's curse claims 2 victims. This means that with 4 years in a row, there have been 8 now, but it's worthwhile to note half of them have been members of this family. That is true. Note, the curse on the 2nd year, a certain falling accident, involved the death of Hojo, a dam proponent, and the disappearance of his wife. She was pronounced dead the following year after being considered to have vanished under perilous circumstances. The curse on the 4th year involved the death of the Hojo siblings' aunt, who was then their foster mother, and the disappearance of the elder brother. The Hojo family is a poor one, and it's hard to say Mr. Hojo's job went very well. Apparently, upon reemployment via family connections, there was a plan for them to return to the home of the mother side of the family. For Mr. Hojo, the eviction due to the Hinamizawa Dam project and the payment of a large amount of compensation money was essentially a windfall. Mr. Hojo actively embraced the Ministry of Construction's negotiations from an early stage and was selected as representative of the dam proponents. It was rumored he had been bought out by the Ministry of Construction for doing so, but the truth is unknown. However, the dam's proponents were in the vastly outnumbered minority. In addition, as the Sonozaki family strengthened its own foundation and promised support against the dam, all of the proponents, save for Mr. Hojo, switched over to the anti-dam side. At this point, Hinamizawa was completely united against the dam, and Mr. Hojo was held up to ridicule as a stooge of the dam project's proponents. He was essentially used as a scapegoat for the anti-dam coalition. In the end, the dam project collapsed with the Yashiro-sama's curse and the dismemberment incident. However, punishment towards the bitter enemies supporting the dam project continues to this day. There are not many left today who support the dam project, nor who had a negative reputation at the time. If there were any candidates left for the curse, it's the husband of the housewife who was beaten to death last year, Teppei Hojo, and Mr. Hojo's daughter, Satoko Hojo. You son of a bitch, don't you dare. Wait, Teppei Hojo. No, that was the guy who had, fuck. Damn it, I'm trying to remember. It was regarding the identity of... Because they, like, identified the body, right? Teppei Hojo. Fuck. I want to look back at one of the other notes. Strangely, these two are the only candidates left. Will this year's curse come down on the two of them? There's more than enough value in observing them both. I'm trying to remember how his name is involved. We'll watch this one, but then I'm going to look at the other, one of the previous tips we'd gotten. To Oeshi-san. There was a call for you from Section 4's Chief Shigeharu. Apparently the slaughtered corpse in the Oejikawa River is related to the S group as we thought. Right. We're still verifying what happened behind the scenes, but apparently the deceased filled up dozens of self-created fictional bank accounts to their limits with money from the S group, reaching around 100 million yen. Good lord. It appears that there were 3 or 4 men with former S group connections involved in this. They've already disappeared along with millions of yen. The deceased was tortured on that point for information. She was clearly slaughtered as an example to the others. There are apparently some real wizards chasing down the people who disappeared. They're also spreading letters to related Yakuza groups not to harbor them. There's still no evidence that Teppei Hojo is one of those people. As far as Chief Shigeharu can tell, he hasn't been told anything. He was her pimp, but she didn't trust him at all, did she? That's what it was. Teppei Hojo has left the apartment Okinomiya and has returned to his former residence in Hinamizawa. Right, the apartment that this woman stayed in, I think, was rented to the Hojo guy. And he returned? No, don't tell me that. Okay. I do just want to double check that one. Right, okay, that's the connection to the Sonozakis. The Sonozakis own the place the woman worked at. Okay, she lived with Hojo. Alright. That's all I wanted to know. That's what I wanted to know. Oh, you just keep going, huh? Okay, so the woman who died at the beginning of the chapter lived with Satoko's father, but worked for a business that was owned by a Sonozaki. Okay. Okay, I'm all refreshed. Here.
守りたいと思う心に嘘はなかった。大切にしたいと思う心は誰よりも強いはずだった。優しさから生まれた感情はやがて殺意へと変わり、真っ白だった思いは赤と黒で染まってゆく。それが守りたかった日常の崩壊を意味していると分かっていながら、たたり殺し、何が間違っていたのか、その答えを探して悲劇はさらに広がってゆく。
北条さんは今日もお休みですか？
Interesting. I'm pretty sure that was Reina's voice. Reina says she truly wanted what was best for her, but that kindness turned into murderous intent. Hmm. 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 And we kind of saw like the way Reina kind of glazed over when Satoshi got brought up. So obviously, I can't help but think that like Reina is involved in connection to anything that's happened to Satoko's family, or even that's the thing. So we know that Reina clearly has like a strong connection towards Satoko and Rika, right? She cares for both of them a lot. And a lot of times it's very exaggerated, like, oh, you're so cute, I want to take you home with me, oh, you're so precious. But like clearly she does have like a strong bond with them. But is it because like potentially she's done something under the, you know, intentions of protecting them, right? I don't know if she could be, we could go so far as to claim like her parents' deaths, but like at least the last incident, right? Last year's incident with the aunt, because obviously Irie mentioned that Satoko and Satoshi were being abused. But that's the thing, why would, unless Satoshi was also abusing Satoko, but that wouldn't make sense because Satoko seems to have very positive memories of Satoshi. So why would Satoshi be one to go? Unless Reina killed both the aunt and the uncle, and Satoshi took the uncle's stole his identity essentially. I don't know how well that would actually work, but like who knows? I don't know. Or maybe that's just Reina's viewpoint for what's going to happen later in this chapter.
フルデさんは何か知っていますか？
Teacher's voice wasn't critical, but Rika-chan hung her head, unable to answer. I felt really bad for her. Teacher called Rika-chan up and they had an exchange in hushed tones at the dais. First, Rika-chan said that Satoko's fever had grown worse, but everyone in the class knew it was a lie. Because every day, Rika-chan brought Satoko's bento with her. Fuck. And see, I get worried because I know, because in just the last fucking tip scene we got, they mentioned something about Satoko's uncle coming back to Hinamizawa. So it makes me think there's something much more sinister at play right now, which fucking terrifies me. I don't want that to be the case.
さとこちゃん、どうしちゃったんだろうね。
Because clearly Rika wants her to show up, which means she's not at their home, right? In the little shack they live in, Satoko's not there. That's why Rika's hoping she shows up. She plans in case she does show up. Clearly Satoko's gone elsewhere. Which, I guess in a way, you could say makes sense. If the uncle comes back saying, yeah, no, she belongs in my custody. She doesn't live there. She lives with me again. Like, sure. Things work different in the 80s. Maybe that was just a thing they could get away with, but
俺が知るかよ。
I'm the one who wants to know most of all. It was already the third day since Satoko's first absence. Ever since then, I haven't felt good. Until just last Sunday, everything had been so much fun. I reached out to Satoko like a real older brother, and we spent that time quietly, but warm and comfortable. So why had it suddenly been flipped over? The more I thought about it, the more I thought the world had taken a turn for the worse ever since Oishi arrived. Thinking on it now, maybe the strange apprehensions plaguing me the night before Oishi arrived had been a sign. Kurada Oishi, Oyashiro-sama's servant.
そんなことあいつが現れたから聡子が今年のたたりに会う役だなんて決められてたまるかよ。
Just what sort of slip-up had I committed to cause those fun times to end so suddenly? Yes, it was the day before Oishi appeared. Shion, Mion, and Reina had spoken of the curse surrounding Satoshi and his disappearance, and it was so sinister it gave me a bad premonition. Such a small thing was the slip-up that invited Oyashiro-sama's servant. It was absurd. I kept on groaning to myself that I would never accept it, ever. I obviously wasn't the only one suppressing my feelings. Mion and Reina were too. Everyone in the class was doing it. Rikchan knew something about Satoko's situation, but she wouldn't tell us. Rikchan still held a calm attitude like a cat basking in the sun, but she was being unbelievably stubborn about this whole thing. She didn't want to tell us, and that wouldn't change no matter how many times we asked her. Everyone understood that, so nobody questioned her.
リカちゃんが言わないならさ、言うまで待つしかないよね。逆に言わないってことは言う必要もない程度のことかもしれないし。
I doubt that's the case. There was no persuasive power and reassurance given with an anxious face like that. Mion was being taciturn, and just looked up at the sky with a somehow annoyed expression. I couldn't tell if she was unhappy that Rikchan wouldn't talk about it with her own friends, or if she was concerned over Satoko's well-being. What about me? Anxiety was suffocating me day after day. If someone else were looking at me, then maybe I'd look annoyed like Mion did. Tap tap. Someone tapped my shoulder. It was Tomotoko Nakamura-kun.
前原さん、ちょっといいですか？
またボールが引っかかったか？今度はお前たちでなんとか。いつまでも先輩に頼るのは良くないぜ。
Didn't feel like going along with them, so I was a little unsympathetic with my response.
ちょっと気になる噂を。
噂？
はい、ひょっとすると関係があるかもと思って。
A rumor. About Satoko. They hadn't said that, but it didn't seem unrelated. They didn't want to talk in the classroom, so they pulled me behind the school building, lending further credence to that thought. The back of the school was damp and humid like always. Students didn't really come here because they wanted to. It might, however, have been the ideal location for trading rumors away from prying eyes.
富田君、岡村君、その噂話ってもちろん聡子の。
関係があるかはわからないですけど。
聡子は一体風邪なのか？それともひょっとしてもっと。
いえ、むしろ逆。うちのばあちゃんの話だと昨日の昼にうちの店に豆腐を買いに来たらしいんです。
Oh, Tomita's family runs a tofu shop at Okamoto-kun.
豆腐屋さん買い物？
My voice sounds so stupefied, even I can tell. It was understandable. I was worried about what grave illness or injury she had when the person herself had been out and about shopping for tofu.
で、聡子は元気そうだったのか？それとも病み上がりで松葉杖で包帯だらけだった？
いえ、別に病気とか怪我とかそういうわけじゃなかったらしいんですが。
I should have felt relieved that it wasn't an illness or an injury. My anxiety wasn't going away, because Tomotoko no Nakamura-kun's expressions weren't looking any better.
絹ごし豆腐を一丁買っていったそうなんですが。
おかしい。なぜ絹ごし豆腐を買って何が悪い？
Maybe you fucking quit interrupting and they'll tell you. Jesus Christ. They say one sentence and he goes, oh really? Expound. And they're like, they're trying to expound. They're trying to expand on their statements. But you keep interrupting every fucking sentence. Irritated by how roundabout they were being, I had to desperately fight that irritation from creeping into my voice.
北条と古出ってほら二人暮らしでそんなにお金持ちってわけじゃないですよね。だから二人はいつも安い木綿豆腐しか買わないんです。一番高い絹ごし豆腐なんか買ったことないんです。
木綿だって絹ごしだってたまにはうまい豆腐が食いたい。
それはそうですけど。
I knew how transparent I sounded right then. This wasn't anything trivial, it was some kind of important clue. Not the cheap firm tofu, but the expensive soft kind. Shopping not in the evening after school, but in the middle of the day. Couldn't figure out what those things meant. As I thought hard about it, Okamoto-kun took his turn to speak.
次はこれも噂なんですけど、帰ってきたらしいん。
帰ってきた？何が？誰が？
北条のおじさんが。
Satoko's uncle. Right. I think Coach told me about him. Their aunt and uncle had taken them in after Satoko and Satoshi had lost their parents in the accident.
去年のお社様のたたりで怖くなって町に逃げたっていう。こいつヤクザみたいな怖くて乱暴なやつで。
Please tell me that's why Oishi was looking for Satoko. Please. Please. Because he heard that Teppei had skipped Okonomiya. He had left Okonomiya after, his prostitute ended up dead, apparently. So now Oishi's trying to find Teppei. That's who he's really after. He wants to talk to Satoko because he thinks Satoko's the only one who would have a lead on him, but he's really looking for the uncle. Because the uncle's going to be the next target. Please. Fucking please. Everything Coach told me came back in bits and pieces. Right. The mean aunt and uncle would torment them all the time. I think he said that after their aunt was beaten to death by the deviant, he ran away to his lover's house in Okonomiya in fear of the curse. Right, that lines up. And then the lover ends up dead. And they said that, and the place where his lover worked, right, is owned by the Sonozakis. And it seemed like whatever they did to her was supposed to be like a warning, right? Okay.
そいつが帰ってくると、どうしてサトコが学校を休んで真っ昼間に絹ごし豆腐を買う羽目になるんだ？
Oh my god, connect the fucking dots, Keiichi. There's a dot going from 1 to 2, and you're sitting there like, how the hell do I connect these dots? A straight line, my guy. My underclassman clammed up and looked downwards. There must have been some big hint buried in there. A fucking massive one, I'd say. Even if I didn't understand, if I told Mia and Arena about it, maybe they'd know something.
せっかく好意で話を聞かせてくれたのに、なんだか。
ああ、北条が重病で寝たきりになってないことが儲けもんじゃないですか。
Yo, depending on what kind of guy this is, which from what we hear of him isn't fucking great, I'd almost rather be sick. Like, listen, as someone who has A, dealt with childhood abuse himself, and B, also dealt with a terminal illness, like, I think I'd rather take the illness if I'm being perfectly honest with you. That might be true, but it still won't make the clouds over my mind fade away.
ああ、前原さん、ほらあれ。
Okamoto-kun cried wildly, pointing over my shoulders behind me. Startled, I turned around, and way on the other side of the schoolyard, near the school gate, I saw a figure trudging forth. Oh, no. Don't show me that face. We've never seen her. That's... Like, we've seen her crying face, sure, but that's always like this over-exaggerated expression in response to her being, teased and, being teased and played with by the other kids. That's just sad. That's truly a sad expression. Fuck, dude. Don't show me that. That little homie, you not... No. No. I don't want to see that face, dude. Fuck.
北条だ。
I burst into a run faster than I could speak, so that as quickly as possible I could see with my own eyes that she was okay. Keiichi, be smart about this. For the love of God, just be happy to see her, and don't be hammering her with questions, please. For the love of God. She's clearly going through some shit. Don't jump in with the questions. Don't jump in with the... Satoko seemed taken aback by me shouting and running over to her.
の突然大声を出して走ってくるから
バカ俺のそれより俺心配で心配で
God damn it, Keiichi! God damn it! No! I told you not to lead with this! You fucking ignorant fuck! Don't lead with that! You fucking just walk up and you just fucking give her a hug, you know? Say, damn, it's good to fucking see you again. You don't come out the gate swinging with, answer me, what happened, answer me.
心配性ですわね。たかだか3日ですわよ。もう圭一さんは心配性なんですから。
From listening to her, she seemed like the normal Satoko, but I could tell she was clearly acting strangely. Her smile was somehow forlorn, and her complexion was bad for some reason.
北条大丈夫だったのかよ。風邪とかじゃないのか。
Tomita-kun and Okamoto-kun both expressed their
一
concerns.
体どうして3日も俺がどれだけ心配してたか。
ごめんあそばせです。ちょっとお家のお掃除をしたりしてたんですのよ。
Okay, come on, Satoko. You would have had a better excuse just saying you were really fucking sick. I was giving the house a good clean. Yeah, I skipped school for 3 days because I just really wanted to deep clean the house. Girl, I know where the fuck you live. It ain't gonna take 3 days.
だいぶ長いこと使ってませんでしたから、もう家中ほこりだらけでして。
Oh, never mind. Shit, that's my bad. She was cleaning her actual family home. Right, like where her uncle lives. Satoko.
はあサトコなんで家の掃除なんかで学校を休まなきゃなんないんだ。
Yeah, she had to stay home to clean it because her uncle forced her to, right? Because, like, you're not fucking going anywhere till this house is clean, right?
もう今はお弁当の時間。私はお腹が空いてますのよ。
It was certainly lunch break. Couldn't force her to stop after she told me she wanted lunch since she was so hungry.
まあいいやリカちゃんは3日間今日はちゃんと食べてやれそうだな。とにかく早く教室へ行こう。みんなを安心させてやろうぜ。
そうですわ。皆さんにご心配をおかけしてしまったかもしれません。人気者は辛いでございますわ。
I put a hand on Satoko's shoulder and we ran to the classroom together. Up close, I was able to verify that Satoko looked somehow weak. Oh, you're gonna break my fucking heart, dude. I don't know where this chapter is gonna go, but I can already tell I'm gonna fucking hate it. All this anxiety was supposed to go away when I saw her again. That's what I had thought. Now I actually started to have quite different fears. Yeah, yeah, same. What the heck happened, Satoko? Everyone in the class, of course, reacted in the same exact way I had. We worried about you. I'm glad to see you well. What were you doing for 3 days? Our classmates showered her in questions.
本当にご迷惑をおかけしましたわね。
As she cackled, she chowed down on the bento Riki-chan had made for her. Those in the teacher's lounge must have been informed of Satoko's arrival because our teacher sprinted in the classroom, her breathing ragged.
北条さん。
あら先生、3日間もご心配をか。ご覧の通り元気でピンピンしてますわ。
もう本当に心配してた。お弁当が食べ終わったらいろいろとお話があります。
3日もサボったからきっと大目玉に違いありませんわね。
Satoko laughed sheepishly while she scratched her head. The rest of the class burst out into laughter. The teacher was acting angry, but she breathed a sigh of relief at seeing Satoko healthy and smiling as she ate her lunch with the class surrounding her.
でも安心したよなレナ。
あ、ごめん。無事で
Yeah,
よ
and
か
of
ったよ
course,
ね。
Reina's thinking about, like, what actually happened too. I looked at Reina and knew. She had a sense that something about Satoko was off too. I looked to see Mion detached from the clamor as well with a somewhat grim expression. But Riki-chan, on the other hand, was smiling from ear to ear. She spread out the bento boxes one by one as Satoko finished them. Finally, Satoko was satisfied, and after enjoying a thorough conversation with her classmates, remembered that she'd been called to the teacher's lounge.
めんどくさいんですけど、行かないともっと怒られてしまいそうですからね。僕も一緒に行きますですよ。
Satoko rises from her seat, and Riki-chan runs over to her.
ごめん遊ばせきゃちょっと怒られてまいりますわ。
おう、なんだったら俺も一緒に付き合う。例のカレーの悪口の時、一緒に職員室で怒られた仲じゃないか。
それには及ばないのです。圭一はここでお留守番なのですよ。
Riki-chan's words were gentle, but the firm rejection was clear in her eyes. The two of them exited into the hallway, walking shoulder to shoulder. After seeing them off, the class breathed a collective sigh of relief, broke apart, and went back to their usual lunch break banter. We, however, couldn't go back to how we usually were. Not I, not Mion, and of course, not Reina. They stared at the classroom exit. Satoko and Riki-chan had left through, their expressions a little distant and grim.
俺たちは仲間だ。そうだろう、みんな。
I blurted out something strange, so Mion and Reina turned around with dubious expressions.
俺は仲間に。だから、さっき聞いたばかりのことを言う。
I told them the stories I heard from Tomita-kun and Nakamura-kun earlier, about the tofu shop and how Satoko's uncle had apparently come back. All at once without letting them speak.
これが俺の知るすべてだから、ミオンもレナも、俺は俺の知るすべてを話したぞ。
I ended my sentence firmly and looked into Mion and Reina's eyes in turn. Reina stared right back at me. Her eyes didn't falter. Without even opening her mouth, I could tell she wasn't hiding anything. Then our gazes turned to Mion.
別に私は隠して黙ってるわけじゃないよ。
See, you always say that. You fucking always say that about, like, anything. Anytime we learn any piece of information, it's always like, well, it's not like I was trying to hide it or anything. It's like... Mion couldn't seem to endure our silent stares and began to talk timidly as if she was guilty of something.
でもケイちゃんが話したなら私も話さないわけにはいかないよね。
Yeah, no shit. You weren't trying to hide it, but now that we actually know something about it, if you don't come clean, you will be hiding something. Uh-huh.
みーちゃん、何か知ってるの？
いや、聡子のおじが帰ってきたっての、この間の日曜日にふらっとひなみ沢に帰ってきたって。
どうしてそれを黙ってた？
ごめん。
My angry shout caused Mion to flinch away, look down, and hang her head uncomfortably.
圭一くん、怒るようなことじゃないよ。
Disagree, but now's not the time for big outbursts of anger. We can be angry, but like let's keep it inside for now.
みーちゃん怖がってる。
あ、ごめん。つい大声を。
I lowered my head in apology. Mion accepted it, collected herself, and continued. According to her, her uncle's relationship with his lover, whom he had been with in Okonomiya, had collapsed. Without anywhere to go, he went back home to Hinamizawa. And, on that Sunday, the day of the barbecue, her uncle ran into Satoko and brought her back to the house.
自宅になんで連れ戻すんだよ。
ろくでなしの寄生虫だからね。自分一人じゃ炊事はおろか、掃除一つできないし。
そんな、炊事やお掃除のために聡子ちゃんを連れ戻したっていうの
Fuck, dude. My mind immediately goes to, like, the worst case scenario, right? Because, like, his relationship fell apart with his lover, right? And now and we already know he's kind of a good for nothing piece of shit. And now he's in a house all alone with a young girl. No longer has his wife anymore, right? I don't want to think of the worst case scenario, man. I really don't. Oh, fuck. I remember that she said she'd been cleaning the house when I met her back at the school gate. Like, I really don't want Satoko to be in this situation at all. But God, I hope it's just cooking and cleaning. I hope it, fuck. moment later, the pieces fell into place, into the jigsaw puzzle of unease. And as for what the puzzle depicted, when I saw it from afar, I could see the answer clearly.
聡子が家に閉じ込められていじめられながら家事をやらっていう噂なんだよ。
If you knew that, why didn't you speak up? I nearly yelled that at Mion, but hastily stopped myself.
みーちゃん、
私がこの目で確かめたわけじゃないから本当かどうかは知らないけど
But, considering all the circumstantial evidence, it's kind of hard not to come to that conclusion. It's kind of hard for that to believe anything else is the truth. Mion looked down again, and staring at the floor, grew quiet.
去年みたいに
What do you mean? Oh, wait, no. I was like, I was about to say, what do you mean just like last year? But then I remembered, oh yeah, the wife was the one that got cacked last year, yeah.
意地悪なおじさん夫婦のところで暮らしてた時みたいに
でもさ、そのおじさんって聡子が重宝なわけだから、何もいじめてるってわけじゃないかもしれないだろ。
圭一くん、何を根拠に言ってるのか知らないけど、いい加減なことは言わない方がいいよ。
Yeah. Reina clearly and directly got mad at me. You don't know much about this, so don't talk as though you do. Yeah, that's clearly what she meant.
じゃあレナは知ってるのかよ。
私だって知らん。今ここで聞くまで、聡子ちゃんがおじさんの家に連れ戻されたなんて知らなかったもんね。1年前とは。
状況が違うってどういうことだよ。
It means Satoko's got no one to stick up for her. There's no wife there for the husband to take his anger out on. There's no older brother there to stick up for Satoko if things go somewhere else. Like, she's truly all by herself.
サトシくんがいない。
Yeah.
サトシはすごく妹思いのいい兄だったんだよ。いつもサトコをかばってた。意地悪なおじおばのとばっちりが少しでもサトコにかぶらない。
家には意地悪なおじさんとサトコちゃんが二人きりなんだよ。
Yeah, and like I said, now that the mean uncle doesn't have a wife to fight with, now the only target for his anger is going to be Satoko. So she's going to have it so much worse than she did before. Oh god, I'm going to be fucking sick.
それがどれだけ行き詰まるものか、圭一くんにだって想像がつくんじゃないかな。木南沢に帰ってきた理由だって、そんな不愉快な理由で帰ってきた人が、どうしてサトコちゃんに優しくできるっていうの？
She was right. It wasn't easy for me to imagine Satoko not being tormented.
ごめん。
あ、こっちこそごめん。問い詰めるような口調になっちゃったね。
An awkward atmosphere floated among us. The three of us remained silent and just stared at the floor. Finally, we heard the principal's bell ringing. The teacher came back with Satoko and Riki-chan at her side.
さあさあ、午後の授業を始めますよ。委員長、号令。起立。
失礼、失礼。
It's not a good sign when Rika has the dead serious expression. Couldn't read anything from Satoko's vaguely sheepish expression, but given the clouded look Rika-chan was wearing behind her, it was tough to laugh off the disquieting story I'd heard from Mion.
よーし、久々に全メンバーが久しぶりにパーッと大部活で盛り上がろうじゃないの。
And Satoko's gonna say something about having to go home right away, right? Yeah, perfect. Indeed, in times like these, the best thing to do is obviously get rowdy and scheme against one another in a club activity.
望むところだよ。ねえ、サトコちゃん、やろうやろう。
サトコが好きだったゲームあるでしょ。何でも構わない。言ってみ。
There's that game you liked, right? It was, pick whatever.
言ってみ。
Mion laughed happily, took a bunch of games out of the club locker and lined them up on the desks. I think that was the first time Mion's ever let someone else decide on a game for her. I could tell she was being especially considerate to Satoko. Think that whatever her circumstances, if we could just enjoy our time together as a group, that might be some comfort, some diversion. Satoko seemed to understand her feelings too, and smiled vaguely, though pleased. But her head slowly moved from side to side. Yup. God fucking damn it.
ありがたいですけど、いろいろしなければならないことがありますので。
Even Rika-chan hung her head in remorse.
おいおいおいおい、部活メンバーが久しぶりに揃ったってのにお流れになっちゃうわけ？敵前逃亡は罰ゲームってのは快速第何条だったっけ？
やめなよみーちゃん、無理に付き合わせちゃダメだよ。
別におじさんは無理、ただ大盛り上がりした方が絶対に楽しいと思って。
本当にお気持ちだけでご安心なさいませ。次に戦うときは皆さんまとめて
Satoko, while insulting us, still said she couldn't participate in the club today and apologized. She quickly put her things into her bag and pattered out into the hallway, disappearing. It all happened in the blink of an eye.
さとこ。
Rika-chan stared lonesomely as her friend hurried home, unable to be a part of club activities. Silence filled the classroom. Both the cheerful voices of our classmates in the schoolyard and the voices of the cicadas sounded like they were coming from some faraway world.
つまんないの？
The silence was broken by Mion's bitterness. She began putting the games on the desk back into the locker. Everyone just stared absently at Satoko's seat, now empty.
リカちゃん、そろそろ話してくれてもいいんじゃないか。
Reina made as gentle a smile as she possibly could and spoke softly to Rika-chan. Even without hearing it from her, we pretty much knew the situation at this point. Satoko's uncle had broken up with his lover and came back home to Hinamizawa. And he had taken Satoko back home and forced her to do all the household work. And that all had to be pretty rough on her. Thinking this was common knowledge to everyone, I skipped to the important part. No, Keiichi, you shut the fuck up. You don't need to chime in at all. Alright, bud? I'm gonna need you to fucking zip it, alright? We don't need your input. Alright? This man's like, I'm gonna cut to the chase. No. There's a reason why Reina spoke softly and calmly approached the situation. Because she knows what she's doing. She knows how to approach Rika. She knows the proper way around it. You have the social etiquette of a goddamn... I don't even know what to compare you to. I don't even know what to compare you to. I was going to compare you to some fucking animal, but I think animals have better social etiquette than you do.
だいぶひどいのか？
Keiichi. Maybe Mion and Reina wanted to ask the same question. Yeah, but they'd have a better way of getting there. They'd have a better way of approaching the subject without just being straight up like, so how bad is it? Like, Keiichi. Nobody spoke. We all just stared, waiting for Rika-chan's reply. Rika-chan still didn't answer us. But that silence in and of itself is kind of an answer. We were hoping for her to say no, but her silence was a bad enough sign.
去年だっけ？
Keiichi, stop. Fucking stop. She's not answering you for a fucking reason. Pressing the matter isn't gonna make things better. God damn it.
おじ夫婦の元にいた時も
Holy
こんな
fuck,
状況
dude.
だったんだろ
Once again. Oh, you lack zero. Fuck, you have zero fucking social etiquette. I swear to God.
うん、あの時は夫婦喧嘩のとばっちりみたいなのがほとんどだったからさ。こうして部活で時間を潰して家にいる時間を極力減らすのも一つの手だったんだけど。
今は家事を強制されてるから学校に残ることもできないんだね。
Shit. Satoko's not a slave. What do you think you are? Ignoring your own inability to live properly and basically putting Satoko under house arrest.
常識的に考えていろいろと状況証拠は必要だろうけど、こういうのって虐待だろ？警察とかに通報できないのかよ？
そうだよね。体罰の証拠とかがあれば警察に通報できると思うよ。
Yeah, that's... Well, no. Oishi wasn't here because he was actually worried about Satoko's well-being. He was here because he was probably trying to find Hojo. I keep forgetting his name. Tepe. That's right, Tepe. He was trying to, I'll just call him the uncle. He kept trying to find the uncle because he wants to question him about, the woman that turned up dead in Okonomiya, right? He doesn't care about Satoko's well-being. But that's probably a part of why the uncle was keeping her locked up at school. Not at school. Keeping her away from school, locked up at home, right? Because he knew that Oishi was around patrolling the area. Well, I guess that wouldn't be entirely true because, like one of the boys said, like they saw her out shopping, so clearly she wasn't totally secluded. But that's clearly only something she was doing for his sake, right? He needs food, she needs to cook for him.
あるいはそういうのって地域の民生委員さんとかに相談できないの？
Right, and I kept saying police, police, as though it were nothing, but Mio's response sounded like she thought we were a little naive.
みんな簡単に言ってくれるけどさ、それを立証するリスクを考えたことある？
リスクってなんだよ。
一昨年の冬かな、通報したんだよ、児童相談所に。虐待があるからすぐに何とかしてくれって。
そうだったんだ。
I do know situations like this too. You fucking tell the welfare offices, they do a check-in, and they don't see anything going on, but then the fucking abusive person retaliates, and it makes their life much worse. Fuck.
それで？
電話してすぐにお役所の人で、さとことかさとしとかについでにおじ夫婦のとこ。
さとことさとしに聞くまではいいが、おじ夫婦にまで聞くのはまずいんじゃないのか？
両者の意見を聞いて総合的に判断するんだとさ。ご立派ご立派。
で、結果はどうだったの？
様子見。
Yep.
様子見ってなんだよ。
おじさんとっても勉強になっちゃったんだけど、法律ではね、暴行か育児放棄が認められなきゃ虐待とは言わないんだってさ。さとこもさとしもよく小づかれてたらしいけど、別に傷跡が残るようなレベルじゃなかったし、3食の飯も一応食えてたし、心理的外傷を与える言動だって別にカセットテープで証拠があったわけじゃないし、村の人たちだって実際に乱暴してる現場は見たことないからね。いくら意地悪だからって人前で乱暴はしないでしょ、誰だって。
で、その後どうなったの？
Nothing.
しばらくは毎週決まった日に民生おじ夫婦も自分たちが見張られてることを気にして、
Yep.
目立ついじめはしなくなったらしいけど、
I can attest to that one personally.
それで済むわけないでしょ普通。
より陰湿ないじめ方に加速していったってことだね。
Yep. Mion sighed and nodded.
おばのやつが特にねちっこくってさ、女特有の陰湿さっていうのかな、相当いやらしいことをしてたらしい。さとこ最後の方は呼吸するだけのボロ人形みたいだった。
Fucking tell me this. So what? In the conclusion, does that mean they never should have contacted child welfare in the first place? Unfortunately, that kinda is the reality with shit like this. Unless you have very conclusive evidence, right? Or like this person has a history of other issues, right? Because that's a big part of how I was able to get out of the situation I was in, is that the person at the time had like quite the criminal record. So when I finally came forward and started talking about things, they were able to believe. They were able to be like, well, God, this guy has a long history of like assault charges and whatnot. So it's like, yeah, no, we don't doubt this.
わかった？誰の目にも明らかな虐待の証拠がなかったらお手上げなんだよ。むしろ状況を悪化させかねない。
Yeah.
あれは失敗だった。
After hearing that even public organizations, the one thing they thought was dependable, couldn't do anything, everyone hung their heads.
つまり 誰の目にも明らかな虐待の証拠が見つかるまで通報すべきでないってことなんだね。
うん、まあそういうこと。
I considered Satoko's current situation. She was brought back to her house. It was a little difficult to call that abuse. She was being tormented and forced to do the chores. How she was being tormented would be the key, but without concrete evidence, it would be difficult to prove. If she had some kind of external injury, that would work. But as far as we could tell from today, she had nothing like that. And being forced to do the chores, that was a bit weak too. There had to be better evidence that she was, without a doubt, being abused. I know. Her uncle had ignored Satoko's existence for a whole year and went to live with his lover in town. Didn't that fall under one of the definitions of abuse that Mion had mentioned? Child neglect?
それは立派な育児放棄だ。どうなのみーちゃん。
おじが今もいなければ育児放棄は認定。今この瞬間は同居してる。今までは別居だったけど、心を入れ替えて同居することにした。
Yeah, it's always that wait and see
また
shit.
様子見なんてことになりかねないよ。
Once we reported it, we'd need to be absolutely sure they'd interpret it as abuse. Maybe we needed far more concrete evidence, lest we repeat last year's mistake.
なんだか悲しい。ということはつまり、さとこちゃんが乱暴されて大きな傷が残るまで黙って見てろってことなんだ。
The only plan I could think of was, in the end, just watching and waiting. It left me in shock when I realized they would be the same policy as that of the officials who had made the situation worse. As Mion said, reporting it to a public agency would be a gamble. If we're going to pick a fight, it would have to be one we couldn't afford to lose. If we were gambling, without enough money, without enough evidence, our defeat would be assured. If we took the time to amass enough money that we could be sure of victory, then that would mean pretending we didn't see Satoko's plight for a considerable amount of time.
こんなところで話を。リカちゃんはどうして一人暮らしができるんだ？
Rika-chan had lost her parents, if I recalled correctly. From what I'd heard, she had no relatives either. She was forced to live on her own as a result, but her life was unfettered, free of restriction. If she could somehow grant that freedom to Satoko too.
リカちゃんって保護者のいない子供って孤児院みたいなところ。
ケイチ君、それ
悪口で言ってるんじゃねえ。そこにサトコを救うヒントがあるかもしれん。リカちゃん、気分を害したならごめんな。
Rika-chan shook her head, not particularly disturbed.
それはです。実は村長さん家の子供になっているからなのです。
補足がいるね。村長の君吉のおじいちゃんがリカちゃんの保護者なんだよ。ちゃんと県知事の許可を得た正式な。
養子みたいなもん。
養子とは別に籍を入れなくても保護者にはなれるんだよ。
つまりリカちゃんは普通に暮らしてるけど、法律の上では村長さんの家に住んでることになってるんだね。
まあそんなとこ。そのおかげでリカちゃんは孤児院送りを免れてるってわけ。孤児院っていうか児童養護院のことだけど。
難しいことはよくわかりませんが、つまりは
ミオン、今興味深いことを言ったな。席が違っても保護者になれるみたいなことを言ったよな。
I mean, yeah. It's essentially just like a foster family, right?
じゃあ形だけでも村長さんとかがサトコの保護者になってくれればいいんじゃないのか？
But then it goes back to, the Hojo family being a cursed name, so no one actually wants to adopt her, right? Then she'd be in the same position as Rika-chan. She could go back to her old life.
ところがそうだって、おじだって保護者のつも
Right,
りな
now
ん
that
だ。
the uncle's, like, here, of course.
ちょっと待て、わけがわかる。そもそも保護者ってなんだ？
In legal terms, a guardian and a parent weren't necessarily synonyms. So whoever was actually looking after her at home would be considered her guardian.
ならおじずっとサトコをほったらかしにしてた。
でも保護者だと主張されたらそれまでだよ。サトコが連れ戻されてから数日、その間の食事代はおじの財布から出てるよね。一応面倒を見てると主張できなくもない。それに1年間サトコをほったらかしたとはいえ、でも村長にはその実績はない。
意地悪なおじさんと村長さんが同時に保護者を主張したら、おじさんの方が強いってこと？
その可能性が高いってこと。それに 保護者ってのは実際に面倒を見てる人を指すんだ。実際に寝床や食事を握ってるおじと名義だけ貸そうとしてる村長じゃどうにも。
じゃあ村長が実際に生活の面倒を、そうすれば名実ともに村長が保護者になれるんだろう。
We just need to shelter Satoko. That might lead to her uncle being desperate to take her back, but we'll stubbornly refuse him. Oh, if only things worked this way, Keiichi.
そんな簡単にはいかない。聡子は育ち盛りの人間一人の面倒を見てくださいなんて、猫の子預けるのとはわけが違う。
じゃあ監督はどうだよ。監督ってよくは知らない。自分で言ってたくらい本当の親でなくても保護者になれるなら、監督なら聡子の面倒を立派に見てくれる気がする。
だから聡子をペットみたいに考えないでって。ケイちゃんはさっきから聡子を誰かに押し付ける話ばっかり。人間一人の生活の面倒を見る責任ってものをもっと慎重に考えて。監督に聞いたの。聡子を引き取って面倒を見るって。
そんな。でも監督なら100
歩譲って監督が OK したとするよ。でもダメなんだよ。保護者は独身じゃダメなんだよ。
That's right. Coach, didn't he say it himself? He was alone, so he couldn't do it. Shit, what the hell? Why is being single such a disadvantage in this society? Then all you could do is marry into a wealthy family, couldn't you?
ひなみ沢にそんなお金持ちはいるのかな。難しそう
ね。簡単じゃないんだよ。人間一人引き取るってのは。誰かに押し付けようなんて短絡的な考えがそもそもダメな。考えが浅いんだよ、ケイちゃんは。
なんなんだよ。俺は必死に聡子を救おうと考えてるのに、ダメだってそればっかり。お前ら仲間のこと本気でどうなんだよ。
God, knock his ass out.
そんなつもり。でもそうか。
そんな難しい話。裕福な奴が聡子をしばらく面倒見てくれればいい。それだけのことだぞ。
It's not that difficult of a problem. Oh yeah? We just need to have some rich people look after? Okay, where's the rich people? Where's the rich people?
そうだ。お前御三家とかいう立派な家柄な話じゃ、ものすごいでかい家。
うち無理。そんなのバチャが。
じゃあ沖宮に住んでる。聞いた話じゃこっちもかなりの町には親類の経営する店がたくさん。立派な資産家じゃないかよ。おい、
ダメ。沖宮の家なんてもっとダメ。うちのお父さんそんなの絶対に許さない。
おい、普段は散々大物ぶりを自慢しといて、ここ一番で及び腰かよ。
Can someone knock this dude out for me, please? I'm getting sick of hearing him
お
talk.
前聡子を見殺しにする気かよ。
そりゃ私だって聡子を助けてやりたいよ。
Just a good solid whack.
でもそれとこれじゃ
話が違うって。冷てえやつ、仲間の危機だろ。ここで救わなかったら部長だろ。部活の救えよ、仲間の危機をよ。今ここで救わなかったら仲間じゃねえ。お前の人間性聞いてるのかよ。見ろ。
Oh my... My emotions all exploded out of me. Didn't even give her a chance to say anything in response. I just wanted to make Mion agree with me even if I had to force her. If she did, Satoko's problems would be solved. If pushing her would solve the issue, then I'd push her as much as I need to, except it won't. Except pushing her will never solve the issue. You fucking dipshit.
何さっきから黙り込んでんだよ。聞いてるのか。どうなんだよ。なんとか言ってるよ。
みー
Mion, looking down with a grim face, began sobbing. Her hands were clenched into trembling fists. She rubbed her eyes to wipe away the tears. Was what I said actually that mean? Now you're just making me fucking angry. Oh my god. I'm actually so fucking pissed right now. Oh my god. I hate this dude so fucking much, man. I hate this kid so much. Oh my god. Ooh. Like, it's jailing it to the point, like, my fucking hands are all clenched up. I might even need to take a break just to go walk it off or something. I'm genuinely getting irritated with how dense and stupid this child is. Holy hell. Was what I said actually that mean? Was I being inconsiderate in some fashion? Was what I said not the right thing to say? Am I somehow in the wrong? Fuck. In Christ. I need someone to knock him out. I need it. I don't want someone to scold him. I don't want Reina to scold him and be like, Keiichi, that wasn't very nice of you to say. You don't really consider someone. I know. I need someone to just fucking deck him. Break his damn jaw. Keep him from talking. Fuck. This isn't the time to cry. Where to? Oh my god. And as I thought that, Reina spoke, her voice cold and incredibly calm. See, that's what I don't want, though. I don't want calm. I don't even want words. I don't want just the light. I don't want the scolding. I want you to beat this kid. I want you to hit him. I want you to realize there's consequences to being such a selfish dick. I want someone to lay his ass out and then for him to really realize, oh, I crossed a line. Because clearly he's not realizing it. Mion starts crying. That doesn't make him think, oh, I crossed the line. It thinks, huh, what, does she think I did something wrong? I'm in the right here. Why are you crying? I'm right.
ケイチ君、みーちゃん家がダメなら他の裕福な家を探したら、私ひなみ沢に立派な豪邸建てて住んでる人。
誰だよ。
Yeah, turn it around, Reina.
白々あれだけ立派な家に住んでて。
俺んちかよ。
Yeah. Oh, your family's so lovely. You guys have so much money. You guys are well taken care of. Why don't you go stay with you? And then he's gonna be like, oh, well, it wouldn't work because, oh, so now there's proper reasoning. There's proper reasons that she can't live with your family. With everyone else, it's an excuse. But for your family, all their proper reasons why it wouldn't work.
俺の家は
仲間なんでしょ？救ってよ、ケイチ君が。
Get his ass. Get his ass. And then break his jaw.
みーちゃんはダメだってさ。じゃあ仲間思いのケイチ君がお手本示さなきゃダメだね。
Get his ass.
あれだけ大きなお家に家族3人で住んでるんだ。じゃあ空き部屋なんかいくらでもあるよね。余ってるお部屋いくつかさとこちゃんに分けてあげればいい。それでめでたくさとこちゃんの悩みは解決。あら何？これでもう終わり？あっけない話だ。はいはい解決。お疲れ様。じゃあもう今日はいい？私帰るね。ランラン、今日は久しぶりに宝探しにでも行こうかな。昨日まではずっとさとこちゃんのことが心配で、今日はどんな宝物が見つかるかな。なんか言ってよ。私だけ喋りずくめ？黙ってんじゃないわよ。聞いてんの？前原圭一。
I love you, Reina. Even the cicadas seem to cower in fear. Reina, my goat. Reina, my goat. Reina, her shoulders bobbing up and down, and me, who had forgotten to breathe. Mion, whose face had gone completely pale, and Riki-chan, who was keeping silent as if nothing had happened. The atmosphere in the classroom grew tight and stiff, and it petrified us where we stood. The sound of the chair as Reina sat back down after having stood up finally allowed everyone present to take a breath. Reina had shown me just how much I had hurt Mion.
レナが怖いのです。
After a few moments, Riki-chan cut into the frozen air.
ごめんねリカ。みーちゃんもごめん。ケイチ君には謝らなくてもいいよね。
So true, bestie.
あ、ごめん。めちゃくちゃなこと言って。
さっきのあれ、私みーちゃん睨みながら言ってたから、 私てっきりみーちゃんに言ってるもんだとばかり思ってた。
That's my goat. That's my fucking goat. See, anytime like there's ever like something that like makes you think like, oh, Reina's kind of crazy. She's kind of weird. She always bring it back though, right? There's a whole thing where she kind of like got a little weird at the mention of Satoshi, right? But then she does some shit like this, and I'm like, man, that doesn't even matter. Reina's the fucking best. You can't make me dislike Reina. You just can't. It's nigh impossible. All I did was spout terrible things as a wave of violent fury passed over me. I couldn't contend with her.
ミオごめん頭に血が上ってた
Come to think of it, I didn't understand what got me that riled up. Thought of myself as Satoko's Nini. So I only had good intentions. That I'd think about it a little harder than everyone else, and yet...
いいよ。私こそ、ケイちゃんが一生懸命悩んでるのに。ごめんね。私も、悪かった。
But no. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. Alright? There's only one person truly in the wrong in this situation. At least amongst the four of you. Not considering like the whole reason we're having this meeting, but like... And it's the dipstick that's not on screen right now. Mion rubbed away the tears at the corners of her eyes with her fists and apologized as well. We bowed our heads to each other and looked down without glancing at the other. Someone, I don't know who, heaved a sigh. Satoko being tormented had been known about since last year. How had the tragedy back then saved Satoko? How had they brought it to an end? Right. In the end, nobody could do anything. All they could do was bear it patiently, wait for those agonizing days to end. That's right. The one who brought an end to those terrible days was some crazy drug addict nobody knew. On the night of Watanagashi last year, their mean aunt had been beaten to death, but it hadn't been done to save Satoko or Satoshi. Right. It really was. Just a coincidence. Honestly, I'm almost willing to bet whoever confessed to doing it wasn't the actual person who did it. Satoko's friends, who needed to do something for her most of all, could do nothing. The incident may have been a tragic one, but from Satoko's viewpoint, it was nothing less than a miracle. Yeah, a miracle. A miracle one could only wait for.
待つしかないの俺たちには
Not for evidence of abuse, not for something that minor.
何をかな。
奇跡
No one made fun of me for using such a crazy word. Couldn't come up with any solution, so it was the only thing we could do.
無力なんだ、私たちは。
That one word Mion dropped was the finishing blow. It was hot. My body was sticky with sweat. The worst month. June. Fuck. I love you, Reina. I still want to see that kid get knocked on his ass, but maybe that's my own emotions getting in the way of things. I never claimed to be any better. I walked forward quite a ways, then turned right where the rice fields ended. I'd never come here before, so I had no idea where to go. I got lost several times, so I may have taken quite a long way around. Maybe I should have gone back home and gotten my bike first. It would have made everyone else worried if I'd asked them, so I asked one of the other classmates where Satoko's actual house was. Keiichi, no. Keiichi, no. Don't show up and start causing even more problems. Keiichi, no. That house was originally her family's, apparently, not their uncle and his wife's. Their house had been bigger, so they had taken it for themselves. Right here. Several houses all in a line. Over there? I was visiting Satoko's house, but didn't particularly intend to meet her there. I didn't mean to spy on the enemy, or mean uncle either. Maybe I just wanted to be a little closer to her, as her Nini. That's a nice thought, bud. But you're really only going to cause more problems by going directly to the house. You really are. You don't... No. Pretty words, but I didn't know if they were true. If what Tomita-kun and the others told me was right, it'd be this house? When I recognized it, my feet grew heavy. What did I come here for? My motive for coming here was absurd. Mion had said at the end that we were powerless, made me sort of frustrated. Just wanted to do something. Anything other than waste the days away praying for a miracle. That's what made me come here. I didn't want to wait for a miracle. I wanted to actively make things worse. That's the Keiichi Maibara way, isn't it? I didn't want to wait and let things play out. Nah, I wanted to get directly involved and make things worse. I'm getting angry again. But that was all. Even if I were to witness her uncle actually tormenting Satoko, what could I do? That's the thing. Eyewitness testimony only goes so far, baby. Would I act like a comic book hero, punch the guy in the face, and take Satoko away with me? Nope. You'd step in, you'd get your ass beat, for one. I know who you are, Keiichi. You would get fucking laid out. And then live together somewhere far away. That was ridiculous.
俺は無力だ。
The cicada's voices raised in chorus sounded like they were scoffing at me. So they were saying that if I couldn't do anything and wouldn't do anything, then I should go back home. And you should. I heard a car approaching, so I got out of its way. The car stopped right behind me, its horn honking shortly once. Oishi. Annoyed, hadn't I gotten out of their way? I looked behind me, and a familiar face was looking at me out of the driver's seat window.
監督。
Oh.
こんにちは。こんなところでお会いするとは、お家は近くなんですか?
Me being here wasn't normal. Just as I considered somehow giving him the slip, I noticed Satoko sitting in the passenger seat.
さとこ
Satoko got out of the car and began unloading a lot of groceries from the trunk.
買い物の帰りに偶然監督にお会いしたん送ってくださるというのでお言葉に甘えたのですわ。
自転車でこんなに買い物をしたら運びきれませんからね。
As Coach spoke, he pulled Satoko's bike from out of the back seat where they'd put it. The grocery bags were big, and there were 4 of them. They all seemed to be packed full and very heavy.
この袋セブンスマート。おいおい、自転車で行くにはちょっと遠すぎないか？
Keiichi. Keiichi. Shut up. I looked at the bags and saw they were filled to brim with sake bottles, snacks that you'd eat with sake, and boxes of cigarettes. Yes. You clearly see what the problem is. Shut up. You pointing it out, you making a big deal of it, does not make things any better, does not improve the situation in any way. Their weight was one thing, but their contents were nothing less than luxury items.
監督のおかげで助かりましたわ。
Exactly. So take that and leave it, Keiichi. Leave it.
ちょっと坂道は辛かったですから。
Satoko gave Coach a smile filled with gratitude, but it was incredibly awkward and even heartrending.
さとこ、この買い物今晩の晩飯ってわけ
Oh
じゃな
my
いだろ。
god, Keiichi, shut up.
当然ですわ。私お酒なんか飲めませんし、タバコなんか吸うわけ。
He made Satoko go to a distant store by herself on her bike. Yes. We all know he's a piece of shit. This isn't breaking news. You're sitting there like, oh wow. He did something really bad. It's almost like everyone has been telling me he's a really bad person or something. So she could buy dumb shit like this. What was the uncle doing right now anyway? He's probably sitting on his ass, watching TV. He probably ain't doing shit. Probably taking a nap. Probably lazing around. And she's gonna walk in the door, and he's gonna be like, about time you got home. When's dinner? Must have been working up a good sweat at this very moment if you needed to send Satoko out by herself, right? Keiichi? Keiichi. If not, then how much did Satoko suffer for no reason? Keiichi. I hadn't intended to voice my feelings. See, you never do, but then you never intend to. but then you do, and it always makes things worse. But they may have made it into my face. Coach might have noticed because he clapped me on the shoulder. God, I don't trust you at all, Irie, but please step in and save this boy from himself. Just then, one of the house windows clattered open, and the face of a vulgar man, the very sight of which made me immediately avert my eyes, emerged from within it. There were no self-introductions necessary. My gut told me that this was the uncle in question. First thing out of his mouth should have been the words of gratitude for Sadako. Instead, it's gonna be like, "You're late. I need my booze now. When's dinner?"
さとこ、缶のガスかけっぱなしで出よったんな、この。
ごめんなさい。でもすぐに買いに行け。
やかましいよ。せっかくの銀座台無しにしよってん。どうしよったんじゃ。
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
Satoko, miserably, apologized over and over, bowing again and again. She could be perfectly described as a small animal. I had no idea what was happening. Satoko finished shopping for all this heavy stuff that wasn't even for dinner. She only managed to come back because she ran to Coach and he drove her home. If she hadn't been found by him, she'd surely still be by herself, panting and moaning, pedaling her bicycle up that steep hill. What was with those words? Those horrible, sleazy words that he said to Sadako. Keiichi, Coach, I need you to stop this man. I need you to stop this kid from doing whatever he's about to do. You fucking slap your hand over his mouth immediately. Do not let him speak. For the love of God. What country's dictionary did it tell him to say such things? To a young girl who just finished shopping. Keiichi. My anger, of course, wouldn't reach him. Good. The uncle displayed no interest in me, instead shouting at Coach.
入江の先生じゃ。こんにちは。そしたら先生も上がって、もうオーラスですからすぐ入れますよ。ピンのワンツー、何でもありで。
いえ、遠慮します。さとこちゃんとは偶然お会いしたんで、すぐに失礼します。
そんな、ちょっとぐらい。先生お金持ちじゃないですか。
I didn't even understand what our uncle and Coach were talking about. Gambling. Idiot. But I knew one thing for sure. None of what he just said had been to thank Satoko in any way. Yeah, no shit.
さとこ、とっととカキも持ってこんかい。ビールも冷めてもうた。冷蔵庫から冷えてるの出してくれな。
てっちゃん、娘に厳しすぎや。もうちょい言いたわらんとかわいそうやで。あんな娘にゃ、兄貴んちにいた頃からそうでよ。甘やかすと親の言うことをなんも聞かんやっちゃよ。たく。それよか、てっちゃんの椿さんリーチしよったで。おお、悪い悪い。なんね。
Oh, Mahjong.
あんたまたリーチかいな。
God. As if I couldn't hate this man anymore. Fucking Mahjong. Can't even play a respectful gambling game. Now you play Mahjong. I mean, I know that's all the thing in Japanese, but still, in Japan. Still Mahjong. Ugh. Mahjong. Filthy fucking Mahjong player. Looked like it wasn't just her uncle. Some of his friends were over. Hey, wait. What was he? Oh, what were they doing? They're gambling on Mahjong. Putting rude words left and right. Making Satoko go shopping for your beer. What were they doing? Keiichi. Why are you acting like you're surprised?
町からおじさまのお友達が来てて、お友達のお夕食も。
なんだよ、それ。
Mahjong? He called his friends over? For Mahjong? They were too busy playing, so they sent Satoko to buy them a crapload of booze from a faraway store. Keiichi. The first thing he said to her was how she left the gas on? The hell?
何？いや、麻雀って、そんなのに遊びほうけて、さとこにこんなのを買いに行かせるのかよ。
Irie, stop this boy. Even though Coach was listening, he pretended he wasn't. There's a line of heavy-looking shopping bags lined up on the ground next to the trunk.
さあ、前原さん、ほら、男の子なんですから、こっちの重い袋を持ちましょう。
監督、こんなのまかりと、こんなの絶対に。
Coach pretended he hadn't heard that violent outburst either. I thought about it later. His reaction might have been the best thing he could do in that situation. Absolutely.
私も2つ持ちますから。ほら、前原さんも。 持つのを手伝ってあげてください。
The bags were packed to the brim with bottles of sake and bar snacks. They were so heavy and so filthy, so unfair. They weren't just heavy in terms of weight, they made me feel mortified. Nothing could have been heavier than that.
ケイチさん、無理しないでいい。私も持ちますわ。
Satoko mistook my biting back the humiliation as grimacing under the weight and offered to help.
バカ、俺をなめるな。
Satoko had never looked down on my physical strength in the slightest.
監督もすみませんわね。重いでしょ。
No, not at all, answered Coach, smiling vaguely. Coolly. But I, and I alone, knew. Coach was an adult, so he just knew how to keep his feelings from showing. There was even more anger than I was feeling, burning deep in his eyes. Exactly, Keiichi. Take notes. Irie is definitely no role model, alright? Don't copy your mannerisms exactly around his, but like, in this instance, take some fucking notes on how to keep those feelings inside so you don't cause more problems.
重いですね。
Shit. Wasn't very far to the doorstep of Satoko's house, but the bag squeezed my palms and started leaving red marks. Fury welled up in me, and in the back of my throat stung. But even if it all came gushing out, it wouldn't solve anything. So, just tightly gritting my teeth was as much as I could do. There you go, Keiichi. You're learning.
本当にありがとうございます。監督もおかげで本当に助かりましたでございます。
After we carried them to the back door, Satoko said that was enough. Occasionally, we'd hear the repulsive laughing of her uncle and his friends from within. My insides would seethe. I knew they weren't ridiculing us. And that was why it made me so mad. They made Satoko shop for all this heavy, selfish stuff and then ignored her and laughed amongst themselves as they pleased. It was deeply aggravating. Of course, Coach had to have felt the same way. But if he accidentally let his feelings slip onto his face, he'd only cause Satoko more worry. He knew all that and spoke coolly, as if to say he didn't care.
いいえ、ささやかでもお手伝いできそうなことがあったらいつでも言って。
ええ、お気持ちだけでも本当に嬉しいですわ。
That he feels that way. Those words were sad. Satoko herself was sad and resigned that we could only help her so much. But she was right. No matter how much Coach or I want to help Satoko, this was as much as we could do. I felt absolutely ashamed, not having the power to help her any more than this. Burning, boiling emotions were bubbling up within me and rising into my throat. Trembling all over, I almost started to cry from my fury.
俺も力になれること、頑張れよな。
I wanted to at least give her those trite words, saying that I'd help her whenever she wanted.
ええ、ありがとうございますわ。わざわざこうしてここまで来てくださっただけでも嬉しかったですわ。
Satoko seemed to have guessed what I was doing in a place like this, when my house was in the opposite direction from school.
さあ、もう行った方がよ。今は酔っ払ってますから、どんな難癖をつけられるかわかりませんわよ。
She felt guilty getting us involved after we'd helped her, because she wanted to be the only one to suffer this misfortune. That's how it looked, and it hurt. I handed my supermarket bag over to Satoko, and I noticed the back of Satoko's hand. There's something that looked like a bruise. Keiichi?
おい、サトコ、このあざ、
Keiichi,
どうしたんだよ。
No. Now's not the time. I knew as much as anyone else how transparent that sounded. I didn't need to hear from Satoko to know how this bruise came to be. You're right. You're absolutely right. Now's not the time. All right? Not here. It'd be a different situation if we were like at school, if we were somewhere away from the uncle. It'd be a different situation entirely. Absolutely, my guy.
階段で転んだ時にちょっと打っただけですのよ。気になさらないでくださいませ。
嘘だろ。
Keiichi. Of course she is. We all know she is. Now is not the time to press the issue. Coach nudged me in the back. Thank you, Coach. Then he put his index finger to his mouth to chide me for being so loud.
本当にありがとうございましたでは明日学校でお会いできるといいですわね。
そんな話
Keiichi,
し
shut
て
the
ない
fuck
だろ
up. Coach dragged this man out
そ
of
の
here.
手のあざはど
Evening glow finally got to a point where I could see the other concealed oval-shaped bruises and traces of swelling on her neck and legs and other places too.
階段から落ち
Coach, I need you to get this guy out of here. Please. Please. I don't even care if you want to be weird about it. If you put your hand over his mouth, fucking arm around his waist, drag him out of here, say some weird shit about how soft and silky his skin is, whatever you need to do, get this man out of here. Because he's about to cause some real fucking issues if you don't. The very moment my violent rampaging emotions were about to burst their way out of my throat, I found my mouth being tightly clamped down on. Thank you, Coach. I'm not gonna call you my goat, but like, oh, thank you. Coach was pressing down on my mouth from behind, wrapping around me tightly with his hands. Thank fucking God. Drag him out of here. Throw him in your car. Because of that, I couldn't say anything. Good. I could only groan. Which I did. That was all I could do. I needed to expel all the magma sitting deep within me. Because otherwise, I'd surely explode into a million pieces that very moment. So I groaned. I groaned. From my mouth. From my whole body. While heat fell in drops from my eyes. I groaned and groaned. I groaned to the point of exhaustion. I wrung absolutely everything out of myself. Even having lost my voice, I was still wringing it all out.
気持ちはわかります。わかりますから、今だけこらえてください。お願いですから。前原さん。
Endure it for now? And then what, huh? What happened to her? To Satoko? Her body and mind were wounded and she was being made to suffer like this. Can you not even let me howl in vain at it? Howl in vain at your house. Howl in vain out of earshot from the motherfucker who's beating her. Causing a scene at her place puts her in a worse situation. I know you don't use the brain that's in your fucking skull, but maybe try it out for once, huh? Is that it, Coach? Are we this powerless? So powerless that we can't even fucking scream from the bottom of our hearts? Time and place, dumbass. Time and place. You want to fucking scream from the bottom of your heart? Do it where it's not gonna make things worse. Fuck. Fucking get on you. I don't even know if you're on your bike. I think you were just walking around town. Just walk. Walk. Start walking. Feel that anger welling up in your body, yeah. And just start walking. Hell, start running. Start sprinting your way home. And when you can't even see that house anymore till you're so far away, I don't give a hell where you scream your heart out. I don't care if you scream your heart out in the middle of the fucking city center where everyone can see you, as long as you're you don't even have to be out of earshot, right? As long as you're not at their fucking back door. It doesn't matter if they hear some guy screaming down the road. They're not gonna give a shit. They're like, oh, what an annoying guy. Just go away. You can scream. By God, you can scream. Scream wherever you'd like. Just not here. That's what he means by endure it. Hold it inside till you can let it out somewhere that's safe for everyone involved. The voice of the Higurashi made me calm down. I didn't know how long it had been. Satoko abruptly gave a slight bow.
ありがとうございますですわ。
さとこ
今、圭一さんが本当のニーニーみたいに見えました。 私の本当のニーニーは、私には圭一さんというニーニーがいてくれる。
そうだ。俺が、お前が、辛い時、ニーニーが、サトコをきっと助けてやるからな。
Satoshi Hojo, you fucking idiot. If not now, then when? Keiichi, you need to remember what Reina told you. I know she was acting kind of scary, but you need to remember, or even remember what fucking Shion was saying. Cause Shion was like, who told you transferred away? Who told you he's gone? Huh? Who said, where's the transfer records? Huh? If you just transferred, there's gotta be records of it. Where's the records? Who told you he transferred? Who told you specifically? Who would have that kind of information? Who would know that? And then Reina's like, I forget exactly how Reina phrased it. I think Reina still insisted on the whole transferred thing. But like there's the implication that it was more than just running away. He didn't just run away. He didn't just up and leave. I get it, you're angry. I get it, I get it. Believe me, I'm angry. For multiple reasons, and you're one of them. Satoko, she's never been in more pain in her life. And you know what? I'm sure if her brother could come back, he would. We need to use our brains here, Keiichi. Alright? I know you don't use yours, but this is the time to be using it, to actually be thinking. If her Nini doesn't save her now, then when will he? Why'd you run away? My brother in Christ. You know he didn't run away. You know there's something else going on. I know you have the brain power to realize this after the conversations you've had with Shion and Reina. I know you can piece this together. Why did you abandon her, my brother in Christ? Why did you leave Satoko behind, my guy? You don't have any right to call yourself Satoko's Nini. No. Actually, if anyone doesn't have that right, it's you. Because you're putting your emotions first every time. You're prioritizing your emotions. That's kind of why Reina had to put you in your place today. Because you were prioritizing your emotions over the facts, over the truth, over even Satoko's own well-being. You're prioritizing your emotions. That's why you sit there and be like, why can't I scream? Because you're prioritizing your emotions over an actual solution, over the facts of the matter, right? Over the facts of the matter. Sit there and be like, I can't even scream. Because you're only thinking about you. You keep acting like you're some righteous person acting on the behalf of everyone else. You're trying to make things better. You're the only one with solutions. But you only ever act for you. You only ever act for you. You only ever think about you. You see someone else in pain and you go, why do I have to step up? Why aren't you here to make things easier for me?
俺は絶対に逃げない。サトシみたいに
Oh,
お前を見捨てて逃げたりしない。
Keiichi, that was like the exact wrong thing to say, Keiichi. What are you doing? Oh my god. This girl is sitting here suffering and you go, I'm gonna be better than your brother was. No. No. Again. You prioritize your own feelings, your own emotions, your own outbursts over anyone else. God, you are such a piece of shit. Even for a teenager, you suck.
絶対に俺はお前を見捨てない。
Coach, he's yelling again. Clamp him. Slip. Tears trickled down from Satoko's eyes. And then she narrowed her eyes into a smile.
さよなら、ニーニー。
Satoko took her right hand and awkwardly waved to me.
大丈夫ですわ。今のニーニーので、大丈夫。 明日まで頑張れますから大丈夫。だから今日はさよならでございますわよ。
There's no way that I could say bye, see you tomorrow. And then from inside the house came a throaty, disgusting voice.
さとこ、はよ乾きも持ってこんかい。
さあ、ニーニー、早く行ってくださいませ。
Yeah, the more you hold her up, the more you're making it worse, asshole.
もう私は大丈夫ですから早く。
行きましょう、前原さん。
Listen to the pedophile.
これ以上はかえって聡子ちゃんに迷惑をかけます。
監督、ニーニーのお家は申し訳ございませんが送ってあげていただけます？
ええ、わかりました。
Coach grabbed me by my collar, and with strength I couldn't have imagined him having, started dragging me away. Thank God. And I, unable to oppose him, started getting farther away from Satoko. She waved her hand to us, expression still dark, and disappeared through the back door. Coach, I need you to put this kid in his place. Coach got into the car first, then turned around on the narrow path and brought the passenger side door round for me.
前原さんの気持ちは、いえ、前原さん以上に。でも、今あなたの心は、だから出ないと。
もうすみません。さっきはありがとうございました。
I meekly got into the passenger seat. The car accelerated quietly. Satoko's house grew farther and farther away in the rearview mirror. We made a wide turn, then I couldn't see her house anymore.
え、あなたのお家、学校の反対側じゃないですか。
I didn't bother to reply. It would have been hard pressed to give him an answer as to why I was at Satoko's house. Coach didn't say anything more either. For a while, the two of us were silent, the only sounds from the gravel spraying over the road as we drove. I remembered how Reina said things were different than last year. At the time, she had Satoshi with her. Satoshi protected Satoko, so that less of the sparks fell onto her.
でも今は。
はい、残酷ですが、それが事実です。
Coach seemed to understand what I really meant when I said that.
悲しく、あまりに残酷な話ですが、私たちの決意や努力、尽力には限界があります。
It sounded like an excuse, but he was right. Even if Coach and I wanted to be people Satoko could depend on, that was all. It ended at the front door. No matter how much I shouted that I would be her Nini, no matter how much I shouted I wouldn't abandon her, no matter how much Satoko called me Nini, I couldn't do any more than that.
サトシは一体どこに行っちまったんですか？
Right. Satoshi was another story. Her actual brother, Satoshi. He was in a position to protect her far, far better than we ever could. That was the cold, sad truth. The massive gulf between Satoshi and us.
今頃どこでどうしているんでしょう。
Satoshi left home. I don't know why. Maybe it was because of Yashiro-sama's curse, or he disappeared, or something. In any case, he wasn't beside Satoko now. At the time Satoko needed him to protect her the most, he wasn't here.
どうして今ここにいないんですか？
Probably because he's dead, Keiichi. Stop crying that a dead man isn't protecting someone. He's dead.
一番守ってやらなければならない
More
こ
than
の時
likely,
に。
anyway. There are some potential theories that he might still be alive, but like, more than likely, he's dead.
お社様のたたりがどうとか家出したとしか言えません。
ある日を境に帰ってこないって妹の聡子に書き置き一つ残さずに家出を。
サトシ君はコツコツとアルバイトをしてたんです。サトコちゃんが当時とても大きなぬいぐるみを欲し、結構いい値段らしくて、そのためにアルバイトをいろいろとしていたら、妹思いの兄で、おじ夫婦のもとで不憫な生活を強いられている妹に少しでも立派な誕生日プレゼントを贈ろうとしているんじゃないかってみんなささやき合っていました。
In the end, he didn't use his savings for a birthday present for Satoko.
サトシ君がいなくなり、警察がいろいろと調べたら、サトシ君の貯金が当日すべて本人によって下ろされていることが分かりました。方々をいろいろと調べた結果、その貯金を資金に東京の方に行ったんではないかという。
東京？何しに？
家出としか言いようがないじゃない。
自分が逃げ出すための資金をそこまでは勝手で。でも聡子を同じ家出するなら聡子も連れて行くべきだった。
Even now, Coach was still calm. He wasn't trying to pour any oil on the fire of my anger at all. He just waited till my anger naturally subsided. After listening to gravel being crushed under the wheels for a little while, Coach spoke abruptly.
察してください。置いていかれたさとこちゃんも同じ考えに至ったんです。
He didn't take her with him when he left. How terrible must Satoko have felt, being betrayed by the brother she loved so much.
でもさとこちゃんはとても強い人でした。もちろん親しい友人たちの支えもあってのことでしたが、ああして笑顔を取り戻すことができました。
I recalled how Satoko had spoken of Satoshi so brightly when I was eating dinner with her in Onikichan a few days ago. At the time, I didn't think any more of it than how pleasant their sibling love had been. But now that I did think about it, I realized it was like she was peering into the distance from atop a pile of tragic perseverance.
サトシ君はきっと帰ってくる。その時までにお荷物じゃなくなった自分を見てほしいって。
サトコはお荷物なんかじゃないで。あいつ俺なんかよりよっぽど生活力はあるし、大抵のことは何だってできる。そりゃレナやリカちゃんなんかと比べれば劣る点はたくさんあるかもしれないけど、そこいらのやつより。
サトシ君がいつ帰ってきてもいいように涙ぐましい努力があったんですよ。
While she lived with Rika-chan, Rika-chan taught her how to handle everything flawlessly, also that she could welcome back Satoshi at any time, so that she could show him she wasn't ashamed.
で、そのサトシは
I asked Coach, but knew he wouldn't be able to answer. In any case, Satoshi ran away. He left Satoko and ran away from Hinamizawa. Someone said that when you leave Hinamizawa and run away, Oyashiro-sama's curse gets you, right? Then, that made sense. Satoshi running away and his disappearance, that obviously mean people thought it was the curse, right? And they could smile, as though it were his own fault, as though he got what he deserved. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, whoever you are. Satoshi didn't vanish because he ran away. You demoned him away with your curse, didn't you? That's not what happened, and I won't forgive you.
サトシはいつ頃。
去年の綿流しのお祭りの夜、おばが異常者に殺されて、その数日後のサトコちゃんの誕生日にです。
サトコの誕生日に？
Wow, it's almost like the more likely thing is, he said he was saving up all this money to buy his sister a gift, so he withdrawed all his savings, and it's almost like someone got to him before he was actually able to buy the gift. That should seem blatantly obvious. But no, everyone acts like he ran away, even though like there's a clear reason why he would have pulled out all his savings. Because he even said he was saving up all this money so he could buy her this gift. And then he disappeared on her birthday. I don't know how the natural conclusion is not that he just pulled out his money, went to go buy the gift, and something happened to him along the way. Even if you're one of the villagers who doesn't want to, acknowledge the fact that someone in the village might be involved in these incidents, how is the implication not that something happened to him when he was going to do something good? Other than the fact that I guess implying that something happened to him might mean, you're insisting that there are, someone's perpetrating a crime, and we can't imply that. Oh God, no. I think it's very obvious what the hell happened there. I slammed my hands on the dashboard in front of me with all my might. Satoshi, all the days you have chosen to run away. Oh my God, numbnuts, use your fucking brain cells. I keep asking you to do this and you won't. Please, think for 5 seconds. Their aunt just died a few days before, didn't she? All your days of suffering were about to end, weren't they? You're just about to start thinking about a new life, weren't you? It's wrong to be happy about someone dying, but for Satoko and her brother, her birthday had come at a critical turning point. Yeah, and he was probably going out to buy her a fucking gift to celebrate it, wasn't he? Their mean uncle had fled town, and the siblings would be left alone. They should have been able to be happy about that, on Satoko's birthday. Satoko was probably waiting for her brother to return the whole time. Yeah, she probably was. Because he was probably going to get her a gift. But then something happened to him. Why can you not consider the possibility that something happened to him from point A to point B? My God, after Irie tells you that the reason he had been saving up so much money At least the reason he stated anyway, was because he wanted to save up to buy a big gift for Satoko. And he disappears on her birthday. How is the immediate assumption not that something happened to him on the way to buy her the birthday gift? How is that not the immediate assumption? I swear to God. I guess he's just been, spoon-fed the fact that he ran away. Oh, he ran away. He transferred. He ran away. He disappeared. He's been fed that line so many times, that's all he can think about, apparently. Because, my God, the answer seems so obvious. The answer seems so obvious. At least the immediate assumption seems so obvious. Right? The immediate assumption. Even if I'm not right in that assumption, how is the immediate assumption not that he was going to do something for his sister? When, the whole time we've been told that Satoshi always was there for his sister, always stuck up for his sister, stood in the way of, his aunt and uncle's abuse so that it didn't fall so much on Satoko. And then we just hear that, oh, he up and ran away, and you just believe it at that? Like, I could understand you believing it at that point, but once Irie drops that little factoid that he had been saving up to buy her a birthday, not even a birthday present, just saving up to buy her this present, and then, oh, he disappeared on her birthday. My God, connect the dots has never been easier. For fuck's sake. Waiting for her brother to return when he never did. Waiting with bated breath for her brother to return. Her hopes and dreams of a new life to come growing ever larger. But no matter how long she waited, he didn't come back. Even contact her. Once again. You're right. That's strange. He didn't contact her. They're supposed to have this close relationship. It's so strange he didn't contact her. I wonder if something happened to him. How do you not have that thought? How are you so blinded by your anger at him in this situation that you can't even think for the briefest moment that something happened to him? How do you just so readily believe that, oh, he just ran away, and not consider any other possibility? My God. I truly hate how dense and stupid this kid is. Satoko, trembling in anticipation of a great present. Just when would she have to face the cold, terrible truth? When will you face the fucking truth? Okay, maybe not face the truth. When will you consider there's a different truth to the matter? Right? You're sitting there like, when will Satoko just accept that he abandoned her? Like, when will you consider the fact that he didn't abandon her? When will you consider the fact that something happened? That something happened to him and he wasn't able to contact her? I mean, hell, we were told that the uncle ran away to Okonomiya, right? He fled Hinamizawa and ran away to Okonomiya. If Satoshi left Hinamizawa to go buy her a present, my God, can we not assume for even the briefest moment that we already know this uncle is a terrible person, right? Can we not then assume that maybe the uncle did something to Satoshi? That the uncle jumped him, maybe? And then it got covered up? Like, my God. Can we put on our thinking caps for even the briefest moment here? I know that's asking a lot for Keiichi to think for even a brief moment. But my God. You're so obsessed with trying to take over the role of Big Brother and trying to get angry at every little thing that you can't stop for 5 seconds and just think. Just think. Just about anything. Genuinely, about anything. Just think. Why the hell do you need someone like Reina to step in and throw it back in your face to make you realize how much of an idiot you are? Why do we need that? My God, like, especially after that moment. After that moment, you should be double thinking any thought that comes into your head. You should be fucking double checking anything you could possibly think of. anything that pops into your head. But no, you don't. You're a dense idiot through and through. God, you're nothing if not consistent, I'll give you that much. Fuck. I'm not even reading that. You can feel my blood rising to my head in my anger at Satoshi. I was frustrated. See, you're frustrated that you can't do anything for Satoko, and I understand that. Believe me, I do. I feel that pain, my guy. But you're just mad you don't have anywhere to take your anger out. That's the thing. You want to take your anger out on something, so you go to the person who's not there to defend themselves. I get it. But my God, let's use our brains. Please. Please, let's stop and use our brains. Please, I'm begging you. I was aggravated. I couldn't forgive him. Jesus Christ. Satoko still respected and adored her brother, and yet he so heartlessly betrayed her. But he didn't. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he did. But I don't believe that. I really don't. I would much sooner believe he got fucking raptured to the heavens on his way to get her a present than believe that he just straight up abandoned her. But that's also because I can think, right? I'm able to think. I have this amazing thing called a brain that I can utilize. Such a person wouldn't just come back now when he was most needed. Yeah, such a person wouldn't come back because they're probably dead. Not because he's a heartless asshole who abandoned his sister, but because he's dead. Yes, no one would protect her. Not even her real brother Satoshi.
だからあなたがニーニーだと認めてもらえて、私もさとこちゃんの幸せを祈る一人ですが、社会的立場があり、私がさとこちゃんのために割いてあげられる時間は少ない。でもあなたは違います。学校で生活を共にし、さとこちゃんやさとしくんとも年はほとんど離れていない。あなたは自分ができることに、それでも私よりはずっとさとこちゃんに手を差し伸べられる場所にいるのです。だから私の分までさとこちゃんの力になってあげてほしい、そう願っています。
そんなことは監督だって。
もちろん年季のある私だからこそ、同じようにあなたにしかできない助けだってあるということです。私たちは互いにそれを全うすべきだと申し上げたいのです。
Was that a little too complicated? Coach added that, but I shook my head in response. When I heard him say he had job skills, it reminded me that he was an adult in a different position from all of us. Maybe I should ask him about it.
監督は法律とか詳しいですか？
いえ、平均的に疎いですが、何か。
I thought back to when I argued with Mion and the others about Satoko. Our children's argument had only left us with the conclusion that we had to wait and see, but what would an adult think?
児童福祉法で児童の安全を確保するために緊急措置として。
緊急措置？じゃあすぐにさと
こちゃんがそれを望まない、虐待されている本人が避難を望まなければ弱いでしょうから。
さとこが望まない？どうして？
Coach didn't answer me. I didn't know why he didn't. It was clear as day that Satoko's uncle was being violent and treating her like a slave. So then why? I clamped down my frenzied emotions and waited intently for Coach to answer. He never did. It wasn't like he was pretending he hadn't heard me. If I had to say, it was more like he wanted to explain but couldn't put it into the right words.
さとこちゃんは多分そういういじめに耐えるのを試練だと考えているかもしれません。
Yeah.
試練？変な宗教じゃあるまいし。
ご存知と思いますが、サトシ君はさとこちゃんをずっとかばってきました。さとこちゃんも甘えてきたと言うべきかもしれません。
I'd known for a while that Satoshi had always protected Satoko from their aunt and uncle, but that was his duty as an older brother, not something to worry about.
それがトラウマになったかもしれないんですよ。自分が兄にもたれかかりすぎたから、兄が自分を嫌ってしまったんではないかってね。
And for Satoko, the current situation was a retelling of the story of a little over a year ago. But this time Satoshi wasn't here.
だから誰にも頼らずに自分の力だけで試練を乗り越えたい。そういう力を身につけなければサトシ君は帰ってこない。そういう考えになっていると私は考えます。
Now that you mentioned it, Satoko never said a word about how hard it had been before. I figured she was being threatened not to talk about it, but
みんなと相談して児童相談所とかに
聞いてますよ。昨年も福祉士さんが。
はい、結局様子見で余計にいじめられたって話。
あれ、サトコちゃんが自分で通報したらしいんです。で、その結果余計いじめが水面下へ移行してエスカレートした。サトコちゃんに降りかかるいじめも増え、それをかばうサトシ君の負担も著しく増えた。それ通報した自分の責任だなんて思ってるんじゃ。
Coach nodded quietly.
多分サトコちゃんに通報の話をするととても嫌がるが、サトコちゃんに内緒で通報したとしても福祉士に対して自分は虐待を受けていないと言い張るでしょうね。
Satoko always acts tough and doesn't readily admit defeat, so I can imagine that easily.
一応児童相談所には裁判所の許可も当事者の許可も一切不要で、虐待が公然の事実ならサトコちゃんが否定しても身柄は強制的に保護されるでしょう。それはサトコちゃんにとっては勝ち負けの問題じゃないですよ。サトコは現実に。話を折りますが、身柄が保護されると養護院等の施設に、そうするとですね、そこで暮らすことになるので、つまり引っ越しということになります。ですから学区変更で転校にもなります。転校は仕方ないです。それであいつが保護されるなら。サトコちゃんはそのだからますますどうしてあの家でサトシ君の帰りを待つのが兄に捨てられ廃人同然になりかけた少女があなたのでなくサトコちゃんの価値観で考えてあげてください。
Try looking at it from a perspective other than your own, big guy. The thing that pulled her out of, her low point was the club, was her friends. So what's gonna happen to her if she has to leave behind not only, Hinamizawa, where she's waiting for her brother to return, but also her friends that, put some light into her life after her brother left, Like, I felt like he was trying to confuse me with that hard to understand roundabout way of talking so unique to adults. My God. Like, I understand, like, yes, I'm also an adult, so I understand, but like, fuck, it just feels so obvious what he's saying. You're just dense. You're denser than a fucking brick. You're dumb. Dumb as hell. Which we know this to be true because, like, whenever people talk about your previous school life before moving to Hinamizawa, you're always talking about, like, oh, I was always in cram school. I had to do summer school. I was always having to make up for tests because I'm stupid as hell. But like, even then, book smarts and common sense don't necessarily go hand in hand, right? You can be, not as book smart and still have some fucking common sense, right? I know because I'm the opposite. I had a lot of book smarts, but like zero common sense as a kid, all right? I know this. So I know the opposite can also exist. Having high common sense, but like no book smarts, all right? But you don't have either, which I know is also a thing. If, the extreme can go in either way, I'm sure the extreme can go in neither way. That you just have neither, but my God, it just makes you so irritating as a protagonist. The fact that you have just nothing going on in your fucking skull. Your heart does all the thinking for you, and the heart doesn't think. The point was that I couldn't do anything about Satoko wanting to stay in that house. I mean, yeah, that's the point, but the point is he wants you to think about it from her perspective so you have a better understanding of why she chooses not to, go elsewhere. Of why she chooses to stay where she is. So you're not constantly flying off the handle and, being unintentionally rude to others He's daring you to use your brain, and you're like, oh, he's speaking in some roundabout a way that I can't understand. Oh. No, he's not. You're just so fucking dumb. And that I should watch until she gives in. In the end, no matter what I said, Coach himself was saying, to wait and see.
俺はわかりませんよ。
I know you don't. I know you don't.
はい。
俺は本当に里子が危ないと感じたら誰の意思も聞かずに通報します。
I am so sick of this kid. I am so sick of this kid, dude. You know what? Everyone's been trying to tell me, explain to me why things are the way they are, but I'm too stupid to understand, so I'm gonna just do my own thing.
その結果、里子は不快な思いをして俺を恨むことがあるかもしれないけど、
It might make things worse for everyone involved, but I think about me, and this is what I want to do. My God, this is exactly what I was saying. You prioritize your own feelings over what will actually help the situation, over considering anyone else's perspective or point of view on the matter. My God, you're supposed to be a teenager and you act like you're fucking 6.
最終的にはそれが里子の幸せにつながると信じます。
No. No, you believe that's what's gonna make you happy. You're sitting there thinking, I'll be happy when Satoko is pulled out of that house. Irie is trying to fucking explain to you. He is trying to do it. Trying to explain to you why she wouldn't be happy. She may not be in a worse home life. Sure. She's no longer, being abused. Sure. But it wouldn't actually make her happy. It wouldn't make her happier. It wouldn't bring her happiness. He's trying to explain that to you. But you just keep going, well, I don't think that's right. I don't think so. I don't think. I'ma do me. Like, God damn it, kid. Coach turned to me and gazed fixedly into my eyes. It was written all over his face. He was shocked at what such a young kid had said.
どうしてあなたはそこまで
Coach, no, rather, normal adults might not have understood. So I taught him the creed and the values that I believed in. Oh my God.
里子は俺の仲間だから。そして俺は里子のニーニーだから。では理由は足りませんか？
Hey, that's a great motivation to want to do the right thing by her. For sure. But also you're talking about out of your ass about things you don't understand. I stared at him with a will strong and unbreakable as steel as his eyes betrayed a tiny bit of unrest.
いえ足りないなんてことはありません
We were silent for a little while until finally Coach said only that.
誓ったじゃないですか。俺たち里子を絶対に泣かせないって。
We made a vow on that day of the barbecue party. I didn't think about it hard at all, but Coach and I still made a promise. That we would never let Satoko cry. Coach gave a dry grin of regret, immediately apologizing for not remembering. One way or another, when he grinned like that, it made me think that his enthusiasm for saving Satoko was a tiny bit smaller than mine. He lightly hit the brakes, making a skidding noise, and my whole body suddenly fell forward.
ひょっとしてああ前原屋敷が前原さんのお家だったんですね
Before I knew it, we were almost to my house. Oh my God. Oh, this chapter is just going to fucking irritate me, isn't it? It's just gonna piss me off to no end, isn't it? Because Keiichi's gonna step in thinking he's the white knight that's gonna fucking save everything. And he's just gonna make things worse, isn't he? He's just gonna make things worse. And like I said, we haven't even hit the Watanagashi yet. We haven't even hit the festival yet. Oh my god. Yep, view new tips. What's new? What's new in the tip? Case 31. What's case 31 all about? December 1st, 1981. That would be, okay, the current year is 83. Right? So that would be... Okay. Yes, that would be... It'd be in between. After Rika's parents died, but before the death of the aunt. This is okay. This is the when they reported to the welfare services, I'm guessing. Prefecture Juvenile Welfare Division report. Yep. Do not view, do not duplicate. Case 31, November 20th. Satoko Hojo, years old. Residence, Hinamizawa Village, Shishibone. Consultation circumstances. Anonymous telephone SOS of child abuse. Abuse situation. Anonymous claims that a female child is suffering physical abuse by adoptive parents, her guardians. Family structure. Marks abusers. Adoptive father, adoptive mother, older brother, child in question. Note, in June 1980, the child's parents died in an accident, and she was given to her uncle on her father's side, her father's younger brother. Child Consultation Center's response. On the day of the anonymous telephone consultation, the center called the child's school and asked of her situation. Next day, the welfare officer on duty visited the child's home and heard what they had to say. Both adoptive parents agreed to the center's coaching. Contacted anti-abuse network in the city. As part of this suggested coaching, a district welfare offices in the area began visiting for coaching at fixed intervals. The scrawled note below is stapled to the report. Related information from former official Mr. W. Refer to 1977 document D23 number 44. As Chief Investigator F from the city's education consultation offices, he is well informed about it. Mr. W, huh? Who's Mr. W? I went home, washed the day's sweat off in the shower. Normally I could reset everything by taking a shower and forgetting all the bad things. That didn't happen today. I got out of the shower to find fresh underwear placed neatly in the laundry basket. Normally I didn't stop to think about it, but today I felt happy at my mother's consideration. At the same time, however, it made me realize how much Satoko must be suffering. At the very moment I was appreciating this gentle kindness, Satoko might be being bruised by her uncle's cruel words. I went up to the second floor and shut myself in my bedroom. Then, facing my desk, I folded my arms. My topic of thought, of course, was Satoko. We thought that if we could just get a public agency to intervene in the right way, the problem would be solved. But with what Coach said, I didn't think it would be so easy. Satoko was obstinate, and she would stubbornly deny the abuse and try to endure it. And that was an act of atonement towards Satoshi, who had protected her before and then run away. As long as she thought that way, the situation wouldn't be so simple. But earlier, before Coach, I made a clear declaration. If I thought Satoko was in danger, then I would do what I had to do. In the end, that meant I was just going to wait and see, too. Nevertheless, I thought I'd drawn a clearer line than Coach or my friends had. If the time came, I would report it. Over the phone. Given Satoko's personality, she might criticize me if she found out, but I believed it was ultimately the best decision. Wait, Keiichi Maibara. Would that really be all it took for the problem to end? Oh, thank God. Use your brain. Say that I reported it to a public agency, like the Child Consultation Center. What if they stuck to their wait-and-see attitude like last year again? Last year, they decided to do just that, and the situation improved temporarily, but then the aunt, thinking herself a laughingstock, increased her tormenting in secret. In the end, things became more underhanded than ever before. This year it was her uncle. I had just seen him for the first time today, but the man seemed much more direct, much more violent than the word underhanded could imply. He wasn't like their aunt. No, not that subtle. He was more direct. He might also assault her with punches and kicks. That could easily be discerned from the bruises and such I saw on Satoko's body. Shit, you're too naive, Keiichi Maibara. However heroic you may seem to report what's happening, if it doesn't save her, then it doesn't mean anything. There we go. Reporting things to a public agency was only one option, and leaving everything to them would be dangerous. We would need something more, to guarantee Satoko's safety. I scratched madly at my head, thinking, then tilted it back, wanting at least a little bit of calm. The memories of angry arguing with my friends today came to mind. I was embarrassed I hadn't realized it until Reina said something. She was right. My house is big. Compared to all the houses with the straw thatched roofs in Hinamizawa, it was really big. We did actually have empty rooms. I never thought that we were affluent, but also never that we were poor. Just didn't admit it because people would think I was arrogant. But maybe my family really is wealthy. We had a few rooms we could lend to Satoko. The guest rooms are only in use when people related to my dad's job came and stayed every once in a while. Plus, if we cleaned up a few of the rooms my dad used for storage, they could work for her as well. As for food expenses, that might have been more a serious problem than a kid like me could imagine. Lunch every day would be manageable. All of our friends would just have to bring a little bit more for lunch than they usually did. With everyone pecking at everyone else's food anyway, it would be manageable. For breakfast and dinner, though, that would have to be up to Mom. I would need to convince her to lend Satoko more than just a room. Of course, I don't even think convincing her of that would be easy. About how much did it cost for one person to eat? How many tens of thousands of yen per month? They couldn't complain about it if I shouldered that, could they? I only had 10 or 20,000 yen in savings, but it was something. I actually had even more thanks to New Year's gifts and such, but my parents had taken all that and put it into a fixed time deposit. If I could get access to that, it should add up to a lot of money. If I got that far, I should ask Mion and Reina to share some of the burden. Of course, I wouldn't depend on that. Reina got mad at me, didn't she? About how I shouldn't just shove responsibility onto others. There we go. I'd have to ask for help. Even so, I'd basically be saving her myself. I would follow through on it. Oh, but it wouldn't be only food expenses. There'd be a lot of other things that you couldn't do without, like baths and laundry. My mother was awfully methodical and strict about cutting out inefficiencies, and for once, that was troublesome. She might even make reference to the money it would cost for the detergent Satoko would use for her own clothes. I couldn't think about only food expenses. I needed more money. Hey, wait, Keiichi Maibara. Since when was this all about money? He's gonna end up going the same fucking route Satoshi did. Just like in chapter 1. Like, oh no, you're carrying around a baseball bat like Satoshi did. You're saying strange things like Satoshi did. And now he's like, gonna be like, I need to save up money for Satoko's case. Just like Satoshi did. You're constantly going into town working odd jobs, earning money. And you say it's all for Satoko's sake, much like Satoshi did. And then, what's gonna end up happening to him? My god, I can only wonder. Even if you could afford it, you need your parents' permission first. They'd be looking after a young girl for a really long time. What would I say to persuade them? Just calm down a little bit, Keiichi Maibara, and you'll realize right away that you can't. Even if you ask them seriously, they would tell you to call the police. Even if you manage to gain their empathy, why should the Maibara family have to shoulder all the burden by itself? That's what would happen. That was it. It was very sad and frustrating, but no matter how much I wanted to help, a resolution alone couldn't save anything.
そんなにも子供って無力なのかよ。
Yeah. I don't know why you thought kids would have much power, but yeah. I felt frustrated. I believe my feelings were stronger than anyone else's. I even thought they were stronger than Coach's. And yet... At that point, there were 2 knocks at my door, and Mom poked her head inside.
起きてたの？さっきからご飯。
あ、うん。今行く。
As someone financially dependent on his parents, I shouldn't say this, but I just sat around doing nothing and food suddenly appeared. It felt so natural to me that I had shamelessly thought of it as the responsibility of the parents who gave birth to me. But when I realized that natural thing was actually a right, I came to realize just how hard it was to grant that privilege to others. Even the boring meal in front of me, no better than it ever was, had more meaning than that tonight. There was food for 3 on a table right now, for Dad, for Mom, and for me. Couldn't imagine how hard it would be to add another place at the table. Think, Keiichi Maibara. If it was hard to make food for 4, then just think about how 4 people could eat food made for 3. Oh. I changed around the way I thought, and with that I began to consider an unthinkably bold plan. That's right. I need to get my parents' permission. She should just live here in secret. Keiichi. Keiichi. I got upset when I found out a while ago, but if I remembered right, if you climbed out the window, then shimmied down the first floor roof... Shimmy down the first floor roof or the gutter, you could go in and out of the house directly from my room. Keiichi, you are not going to be able to hide a whole-ass person in your house. What? I mean, you're getting Satoko away from the abuse, sure. But how long will that last, right? How long will that last? Say you steal Satoko away from her uncle and hide her in your house. How long will that last before the uncle starts going around town asking, where did Satoko go? Where's she at? Who did something with Satoko? And how long until your parents realize that she's at your place? And they tell you, no, we can't keep her here. She's not in our family. We're not gonna keep her here. How long until your plan falls apart and the uncle takes her back and she ends up in a worse situation than she was in? Oh, it would be easier. It would be easy for her to do this. And all that depending on if she even said yes. Because you gotta go back to what Irie was saying about, like, she doesn't want to leave because she sees her current, circumstances as, like, a trial she has to get through. If you just come in and be like, hey, yo, come stay at my place instead, she'd be like, no. No. Because, sure, it keeps her in Hinamizawa, but she's gonna view it as running away from her trial, right? Keiichi, I need you to stop this line of thought immediately. I hadn't even thought about it, but her living here secretly was actually a necessity. Oh my god. I don't have to bring Satoko to my house when the public agency said they would wait and see. Oh my god. Oh, Keiichi. Keiichi. So I'm going to report the abuse to the agency, and then I'm going to hide Satoko away in my house. You know, the agency also has to check in with the child, right? It's not just observing the guardian. Keiichi. In other words, if Satoko's uncle continued to be her guardian, if in such a situation word got out that she was here, her uncle would barge in and drag Satoko back with him. Her uncle was the rightful guardian, so my parents would hand her over without an argument, no doubt. So I need to keep it a secret that she was living here. And how long do you possibly think you could keep that up? Once again, even if she agreed to it, which is a huge fucking if, how long do you realistically think you could keep that up? If it needs to be a secret, then having my parents help would mean a lot, but gotta deceive your allies first, like they always say. You yourself even pointed out that your parents would hand her over without an argument. No doubt. Having my parents' help would mean a lot. God, Keiichi, no. No, god damn it. Once again, I say this episode just exists to fucking piss me off at every twist and turn. Not even just like the chapter itself doesn't piss me off. Keiichi's actions in this chapter piss me off at every twist and turn. The actual story being told in the chapter is one that's very, is a very intense story that I feel like is being told in a very good way. It's just that Keiichi's actions just fucking irritate me at every twist and turn. He stops, for once, he stops to think about it. And where does his line of thought lead him? Essentially kidnapping Satoko and hiding her away in a spare room. That's what I'm saying. Even if you could pull all of this off, even if you could pull off this master plan, what kind of life is that for Satoko where she's just crammed up in her fucking room? Because you wouldn't be able to take her to school. Because guess what? Someone's going to see her and report her back to her uncle. Or someone's going to find out what you're doing. So if she can't go to school, she can't leave the house. Like, you're essentially giving her the same life without the abuse. Which you might see, and it's not even the same life. Because yeah, she's being harmed at home, sure, but like, Now you're not even gonna provide her the opportunity to leave the house, right? She's not gonna be able to go out and interact with her friends, take her mind off things. Like, that's, in some ways it would be better, but in some ways it's definitely not better. It's not a good solution. Once again, this is all branching on if she says if she goes along with it. Okay. Persuading my parents was an unrealistic proposition, yes, so I'll search for a way to have her live here in secret. Keiichi. You know, when Reina threw it back in your face like that and said, oh, why don't you just take care of her then? Oh, your family's so wealthy and your family's got this big house. There's so many things you could do. Why doesn't your family just take care of her then? It was more so to like throw your words back in your face, make you realize how unrealistic you were being. Not for you to actually consider it. Not for you to actually consider it and think, oh, maybe there is something I could pull off here. No. It's supposed to make you realize how unrealistic you're being. Fuck. When I was around, she would just have to be really quiet in my room on the second floor. The issue was the daytime. If she was hiding from her uncle, then she shouldn't go to school. Might be lonely, but not going would be the better option. Oh my god, Keiichi. I could easily teach Satoko the stuff she learns in her grade. Oh god, Keiichi, no! 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 Actually, during school, I mostly help all the younger kids out rather than study my own stuff. Except you're forgetting the fact, like, oh, I'll go to school and then teach her the things when I get back. Oh, really? So you're just gonna leave her locked up in the house for several hours out of the day? And you don't think anyone in the village is gonna get upset that the kid's missing, right? You saw how upset people were getting at her being gone for 3 days, right? You saw how upset Rika was. You saw how worried Mion was getting. And Rika and Mion kind of knew what was already going on. Reina probably assumed, but she didn't know for sure until Mion admitted it, right? Imagine what will happen if she just disappears and no one knows. Right? Rika and Mion knew what was happening. So like a big fuss wasn't raised, right? They just kept saying, "Oh, you know, just wait for when she'll come back eventually." Right? They knew the uncle had returned. They knew Satoko had gone back to him. They knew this. But if no one knows, if suddenly Satoko disappears and Rika doesn't know what happened, Mion doesn't know what happened, Reina doesn't know what happened, you think they're just gonna accept, oh, she's gone? You think they're just gonna accept that? You think the adults are just gonna accept that? You think Chie is just gonna be like, oh, that happened? You think Irie is gonna be like, oh, okay, I guess she's gone now, crazy. Fuck, do you not think people will quickly realize you had a hand in it? After after your big emotional outbursts at them? Do you not think Irie won't deduce you had a hand in it? Do you think Reina and Mion would not, and Rika, she was also there for that, do you think they would not deduce that you had a hand in it? After the way you snap at them? My god. Oh. You have no common sense, my man. During the day, I would need to go to school, so I wouldn't be at home. My parents respected my privacy now that I was this age, so they wouldn't go snooping around my room while I was gone. I think. Okay, what's she going to eat? What's she going to eat? You get to eat lunch at school. What's she going to eat? Because if she's supposed to be hidden, she can't go downstairs and cook for herself. Are you gonna bring like your breakfast upstairs? You think your parents aren't gonna notice something's awry if you start just taking your breakfast upstairs? Come on, man. If she holed herself up in my room, it would be okay, right? My parents did come, thanks to where the second floor was. She could hear their approach from the sound of them coming up the stairs. There'd be a little bit of time before they got all the way up. I estimated a few seconds that she would be able to hide herself in the closet. Wait, Keiichi. Something doesn't make sense. If she can't go to school, then what'll she do for lunch? Oh, finally. Calm down already. I could just leave her my own lunch, couldn't I? I should just go to school without lunch, get everyone else to split theirs with me. And you think no one's gonna fucking raise an eyebrow at that? I just won't bring my lunch. I'll leave it upstairs. she'll eat that, and I'll go mooch off everyone else. Maybe the first day they'd turn a blind eye to that, be like, "Oh, Keiichi, so stupid. You forgot your lunch. All right, fine. We'll let you have a little extra." But after the second day, the third day, you're like, "Keiichi, you keep forgetting your lunch, huh?" I mean, fuck. Eventually, would you not then assume, like, maybe your friends might call fucking welfare on you? But yeah, his parents don't pack him any lunch. He shows up and he has nothing to eat. Like, Keiichi. Okay, that's good. It isn't. No more contradictions or oversights, right? Holy fuck, you're an idiot. Oh, breakfast and dinner. I can somehow get her to go without breakfast. Oh my... Keiichi, if part of your plan is she can skip this meal, it's a bad plan. That's a terrible fucking plan. I think we can work around breakfast. She only needs 2 square meals a day. It's not like she's a growing child or anything. Fucking A, Keiichi. I can go with 2 meals a day when I sleep in on Sundays, after all. Every night, I'd pretend as though I had a bigger appetite and ask for a bigger helping. And I could just somehow give part of that to Satoko. Yeah, I could somehow do that. How? How, bud? How are you gonna do that? Riddle me that one. How? I can just, I'll work something out. No. Lay out the logistics for me right the fuck now. I'd ask for a bigger helping every night. That definitely wouldn't arouse suspicion, right? And then with that extra helping, it'll magically end up in my room. No. How's that extra helping that's not gonna arouse suspicion night after night gonna magically appear in your room? Are your parents... I highly doubt your parents are just gonna let you go, "I'm gonna eat the rest of my room." Maybe once they might allow it. But night after night after night? No. So how are you gonna do it? How are you gonna sneak that food up to your room? As a test, I stood up from my seat with my plate full of fish in my hands.
どうしたのケイチ。ご飯は座って食べなさい。
ちょっと気分が変えた。自分の部屋で食べて。
ボロボロ落としてよ。食事は食卓で食べなさい。
ごめん。
Hey, wait. I only tried to take away 1 plate of fish and they ganged up on me? In reality, it was impossible for me to smuggle food away without my parents knowing about it. But it must have been worth taking the time to think about. There must be some trick, some method to avoid them realizing. Keiichi! Oh, you anger me, boy. Oh, you anger me. Instead of realizing, yeah, no, this was a dumb idea. Clearly there was no... No. There's something here. There's some kind of trick. I can certainly figure it out. Sure. Oh, Keiichi. Even if I can't think of one today, I might think of one tomorrow. My appetite was rapidly fading, so I finished early and went back to my room. I'll surely think of a thing tomorrow, because you're definitely not going to arouse suspicion from your parents by consistently trying to sneak food off to your room. You're definitely not going to make them think about that, alright? I went back there and tried to think about it from Satoko's point of view. For example, let's say my parents were coming up the stairs right now. I've got to hide. I opened the closet. Clatter, clatter. Didn't open quietly. Hey, wait. Didn't it always open real smooth and quiet? Why was it suddenly doing this now? Was this house even structurally safe? Was it already showing signs of dilapidation? Or the hinges just not greased well enough? Could I just apply some lubricating wax? The sound itself may have been soft, but it left me uneasy as to whether my parents would detect it happening when they climbed the stairs. This was an easy problem. I could do something about it. I just had to fix it up a bit so it didn't make noise anymore. For now, I'll close myself in the closet as though I successfully hid. I basically always left my futon out on the floor. Couldn't think of any real reason my parents would want to go into my closet. Even so, there still might be some reason they would. I might need to construct some sort of camouflage so that she wouldn't be noticed even if they did open it. But the more she worried about that, the less time she'd have to actually hide, meaning it would be more likely they'd hear a noise. And then I suddenly had to go to the bathroom. The bathroom? The need to use the toilet. So obvious and yet such a fatal flaw. The only bathroom was on the first floor. Jesus Christ. Like, yeah, I hadn't even factored that into the situation, but I feel like there were already so many holes in your plan that Fuck, let alone when we think of the bathroom. It would be absolutely impossible for her to use it without my family realizing. I might need to set up a portable toilet, like a chamber pot, I guess. So what, you're just gonna have her living out of your closet with a fucking piss pot? Satoko would hate it, so she could go in my room. But the stench would be pretty terrible. Yeah, how are you gonna dispose of it? How are you gonna clean it out? You'd be the one to have to do that, right? Even if this wasn't just a terrible situation in general, right? Your parents aren't gonna clean that, and guess what? You bring something like that into your room, or you keep coming out of your room to clean something like that, they're gonna wonder what the hell's going on. Keiichi, we have a bathroom. Why are you bringing that into your room? What's going on? Anyone sensitive would probably notice the smell without even coming into the room. The bath was okay, though. She could just take a bath when my parents were out. But I couldn't do anything about a toilet. When her stomach started to hurt, my parents were lazing around downstairs, she'd be in trouble. It was then that I noticed that I'd been clawing at my head with both hands. I sat down in the dark closet with my knees against my chest. I buried my face in them and tore at my hair. The more I thought, the more contradictions popped up. The more I thought, the more things failed. And the more I worried, the more I was reminded of how little power I actually had. My back started to hurt from staying in a cramped place for so long. If I was to shelter Satoko, I'd need to force her to feel this pain. To live in such a dark, narrow, suffocating place, forever. It would still be better than being abused by her uncle, or so I wanted to think. It got hard to breathe, so I gave in and crawled out of the closet. I looked at the clock. To my surprise, it was 3:30 in the morning. It felt like so little time, it was so unbelievably long. When I realized that, I was slammed with a terrible urge to sleep, as if the time had only just caught up with me. I have enough strength to fight it, and fell flat onto my futon. Shit, I can't just go to sleep like this. If I waste any time, that'll mean I'm taking the same wait-and-see attitude that Mion and Coach and everyone else did. I needed to keep worrying about how to rescue Satoko for a minute, or even a second longer than everyone else. Isn't there a better way? Isn't there a better way? That one phrase I spoke to myself swirled around in a spiral, and steadily took over my entire mind. For my last moment of consciousness, I thought. There were a lot of blind spots in what I'd considered tonight, but I absolutely wasn't wrong for having those ideas. Tomorrow, I would suggest this bold plan to the others, and get fucking ridiculed. Get your ass beat. Mio might be able to help somehow, and Reina was really sharp, so she might have a good suggestion. Yeah, her good suggestion would be no. Reina is really sharp. She'd have a great suggestion. Don't do it. That's going to be Reina's suggestion. And above all, we need to rescue Satoko once again, with everyone helping out. You think this is going to be some fucking Ocean's 11 heist moment? Where the gang's going to get together and we're going to fucking save her? No. Are you... No. God damn it. Once again, he's so focused on his own feelings. He's even sitting here going, yeah, no, this plan has a lot of holes in it. I'm going to go for it. Like, oh my God. God, you're so dumb. I felt pathetic for letting myself fall asleep. I'm sorry, Satoko. Holy fuck, you are so dumb. Holy fuck, you are so dumb. Oh my God. Oh my God, you are so dumb. Oh my God, you are so dumb. Oh my God. The ceiling blurred into view. No, unfortunately, I do have to wrap this one up here. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm worried about even loading it the next time. I'm just gonna remember how much of an idiot Keiichi is, and then I'm looking forward to seeing him getting ridiculed. He's gonna bring this up to Mio and Reina and Rika, and they're gonna look at him like, "Are you dumb? Of course that wouldn't work. Are you stupid?" And they'd be so real for that because he is. Oh goddamn. See, that's the thing. This chapter deals with a subject matter that hits very close to home for me personally, and I'm very invested in the story and how it's being told. But because it's a matter that hits so close to home for me personally. It's something I get easily irritated about when you see someone acting in like the worst ways they can. You see an idiot who thinks they have good intentions, whose ideas would just make everything worse. And it just fuck. Holy hell, dude. I can't, man. He's fuck. You know, any other time Keiichi offers like some stupid idea, it's not what I dwell on too much because we're dealing like with this big conspiracy where people are being, yo, killed off, this big, under this guise of this curse. That's not something that I'm gonna be able to relate to personally, right? Like, at least God, I hope not. If anyone out there can, like, Jesus, my bad, but something like this, it just every little thing he says, every little thought he has is always just awful. When he does think, it's like it only gets worse. I say think, use your brain, and come to the realization that there's not a whole lot you can do, that the situation's very fucked. And when he does sit down and think, he's like, here's how I can make it worse. But he's so deluded by the fact that that he thinks he's some white knight who's gonna save the day that he doesn't realize the ways it would make it worse. And even when he does sit there and think about it and realize there's so many holes in his plan, there's so many contradictions and oversights, he just goes, whatever. It's the only plan I got, so I'm gonna go with it. Sometimes having no plan is better than having a god awful one. Oh god, this chapter, man. Well, like I said, I gotta wrap this one up here for today. So thank y'all for watching, and hopefully I'll see y'all on the next one. Until then, peace.